our system, our nervous system hasn't had a system upgrade. It's not on a new operating system since the Stone Age.
Whoa, 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 it wasn't no unbreakable.
What if the reason you can't sleep, can't focus, and can't heal has nothing to do with your willpower, your diet, or your supplements, and everything to do with the fact that your nervous system literally doesn't believe you're safe? Most people don't realize that their nervous system is running the show. The burnout, the wired but tired, the nights that you can't sleep and you toss and turn and you have the monkey mind, the chronic inflammation, the brain fog. It's the way that your body overreacts to these little stressors in your life. And that's not just some random collecting of symptoms. This is how your biology quietly is telling you that I can't keep living like this. So my guests today, Mike McPherson and Alyssa Blue, have lived the story in their own bodies. Alyssa was an engineer, an aerospace engineer, whose health crashed with chronic pain, gut issues, and she eventually realized that she was more fascinated by human biology than rockets. I'm not sure how that happened, but I mean, rockets are pretty cool. Mike was born a medical intuitive who spent years suppressing these gifts, who struggled with anxiety, depression, and trying to fit into a system that literally just didn't understand what his body and nervous system were actually doing. So together they went on to create a years-long journey and understand how frequencies, electromagnetic fields, minerals, and the environment around them shape your cellular health and also our capacity to detox, even emotional resilience, which has been a big thing lately. These led to the creation of the Align technology, and not just a mat, but a whole philosophy around connecting with our natural frequencies and letting the body remember how to heal. So today, we're going to go deep into these things that most people have no idea is keeping you from missing all of your health goals and even some of your financial business goals because you can't keep on track. So Mike and Alyssa, welcome to Unbreakable.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
So you both came from very different worlds, aerospace engineer, medical intuitive, and you ended up building something around the nervous system. Tell me about that. Where did that come from?
I think it was something that we so deeply needed ourselves. And it was, I think, a very long journey because we both came from a very Western medical background that didn't even acknowledge this discrepancy. Like this was literally the key component that was missing, that was keeping us stuck in this illness and very different sets of symptoms that we were having. But frequency did play in the later years of my healing journey. Ancillary products played a big role in my healing journey, and I know Mike can speak to this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I've always been into frequency technology and growing up in Hawaii for about 4 years. I mean, like when you get out onto the beach and you just know that you feel different, even when you're a child, when you walk barefoot on the beach, it's like, what is going on? There's something different. So being able to like capture that and just have your body feel safe is super important. So
Yeah, there's lots of different frequencies. I come from a musician background. I went to school for music, and being a drummer, one thing I found out was very interesting is when you play drums so fast, it actually turns into a pitch. So when you play 440 beats per, I think it's second or minute, it becomes an A 440 or 444. Those different frequencies. So I think that there's a very interesting component to movement as well as frequency. And there's light frequency, there's sound frequency, there's heat frequency, there's vibration frequency. How does this all kind of come together? Or how do you see them playing together in whether it's a Schumann resonance kind of scenario? For those who don't know, maybe you can explain that. And or like these earth frequencies that we just are so disconnected with right now.
We are vibrational beings. So if you look at every single cell in our body, and there are trillions of them, it's like a little battery. And these respond to electromagnetic stimulation. There's no accident. You mentioned the Schumann resonance. That is 7.83 hertz is the first harmonic of the Schumann resonance. Most people, if you've ever asked them, have they heard of the Schumann resonance or PEMF, which is pulsed electromagnetic field? They've never heard of this, but they've been exposed to it every single day of their life since they were born. If they've ever walked barefoot, like Mike was mentioning, on the beach in Hawaii, on grass in their backyard, on rocks, on sand, all of these different natural earth surfaces are contained within this cavity within the earth's surface. So you're walking on it every single day, and it matches perfectly with our brain waves in what we know as the flow state. So that really beautiful wavelength of our brain state between theta, which is like this meditative state when children are in that hypnotic brainwave state, we call them sponges. And then this alpha brainwave state, which is great for concentration. Like that is what the earth has provided us, and we've evolved on this earth's surface, indelibly connected to this beautiful frequency.
Hmm. What let's talk about PEMF for a second, because we've talked in other events we've done about EMF and how terrible EMF is, and cell phones against your head will turn your brain to jello and all these things. What's the difference between PEMF and EMF?
So electromagnetic frequencies, the ones that are bad for you, that turn your brain to jello, which I really like that analogy, although it's kind of scary. I mean, they're constant high frequency waves that are going constantly into your body. And when you have that certain high voltage or, high intensity wavelength that's continuous, it actually is cell dysregulating, right? So, but when you actually pulse it, right, it actually, your body is actually resonant to those type of frequencies because we work in a pulse, right? Just like ripples in a pond. When you throw a rock into the pond, you see pulses, right? That's our natural rhythm, the rhythm that comes off of that. But it's never constant. And when we see like a constant like EMF, it's usually from like a technology. So when you step into nature or do anything outdoors or anything like that, everything you see in nature, like waves crashing on the beach, ripples and ponds, those are pulses. So that's like what we really want to like get back to, right? Is our ability to tap into the nature part of it instead of just being inundated with all these crazy EMFs, so electromagnetic frequencies, high pulse rates, and like pulse rates that aren't, conducive to your body.
Are they pulsing at a certain frequency, or like what makes PEMF, the pulse itself, better than just the constant drone of like, sound or frequency?
So there's different waveforms too. For PEMF, a lot of what was studied back in the 1960s for NASA astronauts was square waves, which was a very specific waveform that was designed. So think about a square. It's going from a flat surface, has a 90-degree angle, and then another flat surface. So it's pinging your cellular membrane to create a functional change. So it's allowing that cell to uptake nutrition and detoxify waste more effectively. When you're looking at just AC current that's coming out of a wall, 60 hertz here in America, 50 hertz in Europe. This is, again, an alternating current, but it's not a pure, like, think about when Mike was talking about the ripples in the pond. It's not a pure sine wave. It's a very sporadic sort of frequency. And these carrier waves and a lot of the products are literally, when they tell you to never touch your cell phone when it's charging, it's literally taking that EMF, that dirty electric current, and putting it directly into your body. So there's nothing that's shielded about the device and protecting your body from these non-native frequencies. And why this is so detrimental, look at all of the advancements in the last 100 years. The technologies that so I mentioned earlier, the Schumann resonance, 7.83 hertz. If we think about 5 gigahertz frequencies, these 5G cell towers that they're putting up now, they're 9 orders of magnitude what our natural body was capable of receiving. Like our system, our nervous system hasn't had a system upgrade. It's not a new operating system since the Stone Age.
That was all in one breath. How do you
Oh, yeah.
manage that, right?
It's an intense topic, okay?
Evan Singer. And I'm
Yeah.
very passionate about this just because it's literally like our modern day smoking, right? It's the secondhand smoke, but you can't see it, you can't smell it. No one knows it's happening, and they're bathed in it 24 hours a day and not even realizing how dysregulating it is.
How bad is this? Because I've been, I hate secondhand smoke. I'm glad that they got rid of that stuff with, the restaurants. And like California was the first one to be like, no, can't bring that there. I was like, sweet. And then California went down from hill from there. But after that, that was the only thing good that they did started with. If you're next to somebody with cell phones or you're in like a crowded situation, like how much bleed over, and is there a distance where you're getting that negative effect? They say like for doing the COVID thing, like 6 feet apart, like social distancing. Is there a social distancing scale for this EMF?
So, I mean, yeah, if you're thinking about like, social distancing or how, your energy of like your heart or your aura goes out. It's about 6 feet, and that was done by design, to stay away so we can't feel into people and all that stuff. But I digress on that. But if somebody has their cell phone or theirs, it's kind of different because a cell phone is a little bit lower power than 5G, right? 9 orders of magnitude, right? But I mean, like your body actually is in that sphere, right? So you have this biofield that is actually this invisible field, but it's very real that goes out of your actual energy or your body, and it actually takes up those frequencies and it's attached to you. So just think about like putting your arm out, right? And to the fingertips, you're gonna, if there's something hot or if there's a stove, right, you're gonna burn your fingertips. Just the same way with frequencies. So you're going to uptake that. So we don't realize, and it's been hidden for so many years from us, is that our biofield is actually a body part, right? So it's just like we are in these bubbles, but these bubbles are very, very tangible and they pick up these signals. So when they pick up these signals, it dysregulates not only your etheric field, your biofield, it regulates your actual personal field as well, your body. So it's kind of scary because all these invisible frequencies, like she was talking about secondhand smoke, you can't see these, right? And there's no way to really know that they're happening until it's too late when we have these symptoms of like headache, nausea, even like your system starting to break down. That's how detrimental these are.
To give you an idea, America has only regulated EMFs as a heat. Like if it's producing heat and has the capacity to burn you, that's danger, right? The Russia and the Soviet Union, like they've been studying frequencies for over 100 years, and they know that the capacity to endanger our human physiology has nothing to do with it actually physically causing heat and burning us in the body. It happens at orders of magnitude far lower than that. When you're asking about a safe distance, it really depends on the device because per cell phone, it's an exponential increase or decrease. So moving your personal device like 2 feet away from your body is gonna significantly reduce your personal exposure. But if you're looking at all of the technology that's been implemented over the last 120 years, give or take, starting with, like, long-range radio waves, I mean, those travel thousands of miles. So there's some level of impact, and they've been regulating and monitoring this since, the Navy had commissioned a gentleman by the name of Robert O. Becker back in the 70s. He was like the first dude that was canceled for going on a Dateline show, it's 60 Minutes actually, and calling out the fact that they knew the dangers of this, and they still went forward with producing these towers.
How many different frequencies are we being bombarded with? You just talked about a couple, but what are some of the ones that people are really not talking about that they should be acutely aware of?
Oh,
Li
man.
literally
That,
millions.
yeah, I mean, like that gets into, the conspiracy theorists,
Let's
very
go
stuff.
down that trail right
You want
now.
to go down
We're
that
going
trail?
down that trail.
Okay, amazing. We're going
Let's
down
do
the
it.
rabbit hole. So they say that there's 5G. There's also something called 6G and 7G that's already rolled out, that we're already feeling, that we're already not even realizing that we're perceiving because it's actually happening within our reality and creating our reality around us. Supposedly 6G and 7G has mind controlling capabilities, right? So if their, I'm going to say their like mission is to make your way of life to be more, compliant, they're going to show you things in your purview that you need to see that they want you to see, right? And these frequencies are actually causing these things to happen. They have a frequency that is like, again, it's going into your biofield, right? And it's actually messing with your neurochemistry and making you see things that might not even be there. It's wild. I mean, like you can look at, people like Sabrina Wallace. She's talking about this. She looks like a nut, but I mean, like everything that she's saying is
You can
so
search
true.
it.
I mean, like, yeah, you definitely should search it if you want to go down that rabbit hole. But I mean, like, it's they're far, far ahead of where they actually want us to think that they are. 5G, 6G, 7G is not for telecommunications whatsoever. It's not.
We don't have better cell service because of it. That
I
was
know, yeah, and there's never a time where you go by a 5G tower and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I have full bars." It's quite the antithesis, actually. And sometimes if you stay under like a 5G tower, I mean, um, you'll feel the effects of it, if you're there long enough. I mean, Alyssa and I actually chose to move next to high-powered telephone or power lines to see how it actually affected our body and to see if this is like, a myth, right? Or is there EMFs that are actually detrimental to your body? And that's like the science and the study and the research that we're doing is because we care so much about these EMFs. I mean, like the hat I'm wearing right now is EMF protected, right? And it's on your your biggest, most important organ of your body. Well, arguably, is your brain, right? Your epicenter. So, I mean, it's just there's just so many frequencies and so many different things that are happening that we don't even realize on a daily basis that we're inundated with. Where now we're in like this frequency soup where it feels normalized. So if we were to actually take ourselves out of this, this frequency, right? All these frequencies we're inundated with, what would it feel like? Would we be able to survive? What would that actually feel like? Some would say it's better, and maybe I were to bet, if there was like children, they would be like, this feels completely, dysregulated because there's no, I guess there's no static going on, right? And they don't know how to really what it feels like to calm down because it's just that's what they were born with. I mean, I was born before the cell phone, right? And when power lines look like just wooden poles coming out of the ground. So I mean, like it's changed, man. It's crazy.
Hmm. So much to unpack there, and we're
Yeah.
gonna get. I'm telling you, we're gonna get to it. First thing, you mentioned your hat. So
Yes.
maybe you could talk a little bit about that. I mean, we're not doing an infomercial, everyone, but I want to understand, like, how is when you said your hat is EMF protecting your brain? Tell me about
Yes.
the science behind that. How does that work?
So this is a hat that we created that has a proprietary blend of metals, one of which is stainless steel. Stainless steel actually holds frequencies indefinitely, good frequencies, if you implement them correctly, right? So these are actually implemented with radionics and frequencies that we choose. So there's 528, there's electromagnetic smog blocking, there's EMF and 5G, 6G, and 7G blocking. There's white light frequency that goes into this, and there's a protection of ultraviolet light that goes into this as well. So when you actually imprint these metals that can hold them, and it's not EMFs that can imprint them, they have to be a certain frequency that actually stays within the stainless steel. But I mean, like these are incredible. I wear this every single day. I'm sure you could see like the sweat mark, but it's like you can feel a difference. And it's cool when we're at like a conference, we have our EMF reader and it's buzzing off the hook, right? And then you put the hat over it and it drops to zero. And that's like what we're feeling every single day is like these high pinging frequencies that are literally, changing your neurochemistry, changing your body, down regulating your nervous system, down regulating your cells in your body. So when you actually are able to protect your body, and it goes further than just like, just protecting your head, this is quantum, right? So it's your whole biofield. Your whole biofield is actually being protected by this because it's saying, okay, this is what we need to do to feel better. And your whole body is starting to listen. So there's a lot of technology that goes behind these hats, although they look like cool, stylish, golf hats, but it's far deeper than that. And Alyssa, if you want to explain any more, or maybe bring it down to the science, and I'm more of like the esoteric. So bring us back to the science, aerospace
It's
engineer.
just fun. I mean, we talk about it like a modern day tinfoil hat, right? So we are inundated with this. It's this toxic soup that we're exposed to all day long. And, having a Faraday cage to protect, your brain, the command center of your body, that's sending signals, chemical signals from are we in fight flight or are we in rest and digest mode? It's important to, again, for us, again, we're on the science side and we do research and it's really cool because people love the data to show them in real time when you have an EMF reader that it does drop to 0 and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize what I was being exposed to." But for people to have their own experience when they put it on and they had a headache, they have been dealing with brain fog and fatigue and these mysterious symptoms that they just talk about as like aging or I just didn't get a good night of sleep last night and these things magically clear up, then it becomes real for them.
They, right? We're going with the they. I'm assuming that this is
They.
not their pronouns, right? And probably don't use this and refer to themselves as theys or
Yeah.
we's. Who is they? Who's behind this, do you think?
So the people that are implementing this technology or the yeah. This is
Oh, I'm sure it's the aliens. That's it. It's just the
Yep.
you
aliens.
know, if we're gonna dive down that rabbit hole, it's so hard for us from our, I guess, limited perspective to understand how humans could want to do this to other humans. So that's been like the the most rational, I guess, explanation is like they can't be humans. That anyone that would want to implement this and spray the chemicals in our sky with the chemtrails, the things that we're seeing that, are there's literally legislation being passed against it now. So it's not a secret, it's not woo-woo, it's not conspiracy theory. This is fact now. This is something that we've been seeing for a decade now and been talking about, been told that we're crazy, and now there's legislation literally on it. So, if we know that these are chemicals that are being rolled out that interfere with the EMFs, so okay, to put it all together, they're spraying biologics and heavy metals in the sky. So they're aerosolizing our skies. These then don't stay suspended forever. They fall to the earth. Then they're exposed to these EMF frequencies when it was 2.4 gigs and now it's 5 gigs and then a slew of other FM, AM, all of these other frequencies that are we're being bombarded with and they're charged particles now that we're now breathing in. They go in our waterways, they go in our soil, so now they're in our bodies, and metals make us more conductive, but the right metals. So we're predominantly 60 to 70% water-based beings, and we are supposed to have these minerals, micro minerals in our body, electrolytes, sodium, magnesium, potassium, chloride, all of these things that are supposed to help us create the right electrical connections. And now we're being bombarded with heavy metals that they're exposing us to that are interacting with this it's called W-band, wide body area network. You can look this up and see that there's international electrical standards on this that are literally hooking us up to this false light grid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it can be really twisted where it's like what humans, anyone walking on this earth's surface is being exposed to this air. It doesn't just stay in the city that it's sprayed over or whatever area they're trying to affect. It's fluid.
Hypothesize for me. Why do you think they're doing this?
It's really difficult. I mean, you would see like the history of the world and everything, and you would see that there's too many people on this planet, or there's people that, or not even people that actually want us to get off a planet, right? I mean, like Elon Musk wants to send us to Mars. I don't know if that's necessarily good. I love this beautiful planet. I love hiking. I love seeing the ocean, the waterfalls. I haven't seen, most of this planet. And it's just really sad that, we were brought here and as change makers, and to see this happen in real time with everything that's going on with the rollout of 5G, with these chemtrails, with AI, and AI is really scary. I mean, that's another rabbit hole we can go down altogether. But I mean, it's just there's no I don't know. I wouldn't want to hurt another human. I want to protect humans. I want to help humans heal, obviously, right? You can't
Do you think
even,
it's more of a control thing, or more of a depopulation agenda, or more of something more of like
I mean,
something
if you have
else?
less people, right? It's easier to control that population.
And it plays in one plays into the other, and, like, these aren't exactly hypotheses when they're actually, like, published philosophies. The agenda, like, "Oh, the world is overpopulated," we have 7.2 billion people, and it's actually been publicized, so that's one theory, and then the whole agenda to spray the skies, to dim the sunlight because our planet is warming, and this whole if you've ever heard of Edward Bernays in World War II propaganda, It's rolling it out in a way that it's marketed to us, like they turned propaganda into public relations here in America, and they sell it to us as something that we need, and then we demand it, like fluoridation in our water, which there's never been a single public study that's proven it's healthy for teeth. It's neurotoxic. So again, when we're talking about being compliant and complicit and more suggestible, all of these chemical concentrations and things that we're being exposed to all kind of lead to that end. So we're not, creating civil war and revolting against these factions, whether it's government, whether it's well beyond government, whether it's extraterrestrial. We don't That's the theory. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
You have no idea what's going on back there.
Or
You know?
below, above or
Yeah,
below,
above or below or inner
beyond
or
the ice
whatever or outside the ice wall. Exactly.
yeah, they did find all that stuff underneath the pyramids. I mean, why haven't we gone there and checked that out yet? I mean, holy cow, that was some time ago. And
wireless power transmission. Why would they want us to have that or not have that?
yeah.
And realizing how powerful we as individuals are, because if we
Yeah,
truly realized our sovereign power and our ability to connect to the source that we came from, we couldn't be controlled.
Mhm.
right.
They
Oh,
wouldn't want that.
absolutely. I
There's
mean,
so much
like we are I mean, like we're so powerful, we don't even realize it. If we even knew like a tenth of the power that we have in our actual body, we would be completely free. We wouldn't have to sustain from anything else but our own being, you know? It's just, I don't know. And you say, why would they be taking that away from it? Population, maybe we might never know, but it's just something that's happening, but we don't want people to be scared about it. We talk about this because we want to educate people that it's actually in existence, it's actually happening, but you better be prepared and not scared,
Mhm.
things, when you bring these things to your attention. I mean, you start to see like, oh man, maybe I've been missing something, you know so like shifting the perception or the perspective of people and really doing it in a way where it's like, you know what, these things exist, right? But don't be afraid of them. Here's how you can protect against them.
Mhm.
That's like our main mission.
You made a statement earlier, very quickly about the 6-foot distance, right?
Mhm.
And what I was feeling like is there's a reason, like the interconnectedness of people, to distance ourselves. I mean, right now you see we don't need to worry about the zombie apocalypse. Everyone's walking around with a cell phone being zombies and walking right off curbs into traffic, and I mean, you name it.
Right.
Kids are just doing. I don't understand that at all. But this social distancing concept, the power that we're talking about here, tell me a little bit more about what happens when people get together and how their bodies and their electromagnetic fields or quantum fields actually interact with each other. Like what's going on there, and how do we use that to grow, to evolve, to become healthy again, and maybe detoxify from some of this nefarious behavior.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful because when we are together, we're much stronger. We're like little batteries. We're actually nuclear power plants, and people don't even realize that. So when you put like 100 nuclear power plants together, you have endless amounts of energy, right? And that energy not only can heal the world, it can manifest things into the world that you couldn't even imagine, right? So a really cool example, and I'm going to bring this back to like the trade shows when we demo our technology, is that there could be four different people that lay down on the mat at different times, and they don't even know each other. They didn't even talk to each other. And one of the things that we see when somebody goes into a relaxed nervous system state is that they start going from deep chest or from chest breathing to deep diaphragmatic breathing. And what we're seeing every single time is when somebody drops into that state, it gives the person next to them permission to drop in that state as well. So you see them go for the chest breathing, deep diaphragmatic breathing, but then they all start to do it and all start to link up. You know, it's almost like the body's giving permission. It's okay. It's in a safe space. We're here to relax. The same thing is for when we have, I guess, the same thought process or the same intentionality, right? and we focus on it. I mean, like Dr. Joe Dispenza is documenting this. He's showing this in real time, how powerful they are. And they have sensors in these rooms where these people are meditating, and it's off the charts, right? But that collective energy is just like batteries and nuclear power plants, like I said before, getting together and really creating this beautiful symbiotic energy that can literally change worlds.
Hmm. I know I've listened to, uh, I think Greer talked about, I was a level 5 or something like that experience when people you have to in order to have a experience where you can communicate with the ETs out there, you have to
Mhm.
have a certain number of people to kinda together, and you have to there's some, I guess, practices or meditations or something you can do,
Mhm.
and I've always thought like, "Okay, yeah, how are mushrooms involved in this?" Because if they are, I can guarantee we're gonna make contact, but I wonder how that also plays into it as far as like with what you're talking about of meditation and having frequencies and maybe even being able to communicate with people on the other side of the world, without
Yeah.
having, this wireless, frequency technology that's in
Yeah.
every person.
Well, you already can. I mean, like when I had a practice with energy healing, and I worked on people all over the world, right? And people are wondering, how can we actually connect to people all over the world? We're already connected. We just have to tap into that energy, or their energy with intention. So I could work with somebody in Australia. I could work with somebody in China. I could work with somebody across the globe, and they can get that effect. See, we don't realize how connected and how powerful we are with intention. Just their thoughts alone, bringing that in and like changing, I mean, like just like Matsumoto's, messages in water effect, right? Where they would yell obscenities into this water and then freeze it, and it would be like this jagged edge, chrysalis that's in the ice, or they would speak love into it, abundance, happiness, forgiveness, whatever that is, and then it would make beautiful snowflakes. Our energy is so incredibly powerful and transformative that if we actually had the knowledge of how powerful that was, I mean, like it's nonstop, but you can literally tap into anybody that you want, as long as it's for good, because there's karmic effects for that too, but tap into people to heal them, to communicate with them. I mean, you talk about getting into this meditative state, right? Where, you might need mushrooms. You can release DMT without even having to be on any psychedelics, your own DMT in your body. I mean, like I remember the first time and it was with the Dr. Joe meditation. It was the first time I actually had a natural DMT release where I was shot up to the 46th layer or dimension, and I saw these jellyfish beings that had little crystals in their head, and they were communicating with me. I was just like laying there like, what is going on? And they're just pumping this energy into my body, and I come back and I'm indelibly changed, right? So I mean, like it's energy's wild. I don't think we even have grazed the surface or the tip of the iceberg on what you know our energy is actually capable of. I mean, even with technology, I believe that a lot of sciences, and that's why our technology works so well, is that we think outside the box. Is that I don't believe we don't follow these, you know, normalized sciences, right?
Interesting. I read an article just recently about how Microsoft has released a new storage device for
Really?
data in silicone, silica form, not silicon,
Oh,
right? That's the, you know,
Sand.
implants, right? Silica. So basically, that's silica is a form of crystal, right? And they say that it can hold data for 10,000 plus years. And that brings me back to the whole idea of like these crystals that are, in our environment, they grow underneath our feet. People have been drawn to crystals of all kinds for such a long time, and every crystal is a little bit different. How they grow, what frequency they resonate at. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that because I know you've incorporated that also into your mats, so you have a lot of science on that.
It's the evolution, right? So, again, we've evolved over tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands, depending on who you talk to, and these natural minerals have evolved over millions of years on this Earth's surface. So, we are indelibly connected to them, and that's why we thought it was so important to incorporate it into our technology, and that's why we have 3 synergistic technologies. You know, the Earth, when we're out in full spectrum sunlight, the warmth of the sun kissing our skin, how that feels, so we incorporated that far infrared wavelength of heat in the mat, which heats those stones, which would just mimic, like, what we're walking on the Earth's surface. You know, these heated stones, think about either, like, waves crashing on a shore, a waterfall, this mechanical stimulation of these minerals, they release negative ions. Now, there's actually clinical studies that show these negative ions now impact our neurotransmitters. So think about serotonin's our happiness hormone, and they're proving that being in these environments increases those neurotransmitters, which are responsible for making us feel a certain way. So we weren't trying to reinvent the wheel. We were looking at these natural systems and seeing how we could put these things together in a way that was very, again, natural to our body. That's even why we're called a line. We're not trying to force the body to create change. We're welcoming it to come home and relax into this natural state. Why crystals work so well, you know, Mike mentioned Dr. Masaru Emoto's work with messages in water. Water is also a crystalline structure. Water plus minerals in our body makes us more conductive. So there's definitely a resonance between these direct components. You know, silica, silicon dioxide, which is quartz crystal. You know, there's a lot of people that think it's woo woo, yet almost every semiconductor, every device that we have, our computers that we're talking on today, all leverage quartz crystals. The timepiece that you wear on your wrist, you know, high-end watches uses, like, Swiss time and quartz. All of them. Stethoscopes. So we are inundated with these things, and yet we wanna believe they're woo-woo, but they're literally how we communicate almost every single day.
What are the best crystals for healing? I mean, are there, because there's so many different, I kinda I'm a rock guy. I just, heavy metal, but, what I used to just collect rocks. I used to found, like, fascinating stuff I find in the driveway. I'm like, "How did this get in the driveway?"
Your pet
You
rock.
know? Yeah, it's exactly, like, "You're so friendly." Um, but there's so many different types out there. Are there certain crystals that are more healing? Is there a certain size? Because 'Cause I've seen people have these monoliths of the quartz that are gonna cost thousands of dollars, and they want those around them, and I've seen people that just carry one in their pocket.
Mhm. I mean, I'll go back to the fact that we're all an N of one, and science talks about this a lot as well. Like, we are all so bio-individual. There's different subsets of experiences, not only genetics, but the lifestyle that we live. So, really starting to leverage back to, like, our instinct and intuition. If something feels good, do more of that. Some people do love to create these giant crystal grids around them and spend tens of thousands of dollars because they love rocks, and that resonates with them, and that's totally fine. Um, there are different metaphysical properties of each of these rocks that have been defined, but again, something that works for one person might not for another. So it's like literally you can just hold something in your hand and see if it makes your heart flutter faster or see if it helps you, you know, your breath rate. Mike was talking about like how our people sync up together on the mat and their breath rate slows down. They switch from short chest breaths to that parasympathetic deep diaphragmatic breathing. Like you can just start to like notice these subtle changes. I think the biggest issue is most of us are disconnected from that inner calling, and it's not our own fault. It's the fact that literally, like growing up as kids, like take it back to preschool, you know, your tummy's rumbling and you're telling the teacher, and she's like, but it's not lunchtime yet. So we've literally been taught to deny all of these natural signals that our body was giving us, and now we're here in our adult world and wondering why we feel so disconnected.
Mhm. But there's also a reason why we also are so connected to stones, is because they're living beings too. And my gosh, he's talking crazy. There's stones outside, they're living beings. Yeah, they are. They're vibrating at a certain level. You asked about what is a more powerful stone than others. Quartz crystal vibrates at a very high frequency. It's actually liquid. It's not an actual solid. So it's vibrating so fast that we perceive it as a solid and it stays together, which is pretty incredible. But these stones give off certain frequencies and have certain metaphysical properties to them where you can actually feel them, right? So, like quartz crystal is really good for getting into meditation. also absorbing negative energies, right? And clearing negative energies. That's what I used to do with my in my practice is I would either have quartz crystal because it's very high vibrational stone, or I would have seleniolite, or what we really love and what takes away a lot of negative energy and clears energy really well, really fast is black tourmaline. Black tourmaline is very special. So I mean, like it all depends on what you're trying to accomplish with these stones, and basically you just have to pretty much listen to what they feel like. But the stones, say like we have on our mat, but more so like all together, they resonate with the different energy centers that we have in our body. And the different energy centers in our body are also known as chakras, right? So they vibrate at a certain frequency. So do our chakras. And, whether you have like your crown chakra that's vibrating at a very high frequency, that's why we use amethyst, or you could use quartz. You use, we actually tried to use jade for our heart center, which is very, very heart centering for the body and the energy centers. But we actually used green, green aventurine is because it was actually taking over the whole entire mat. It was actually taking out all the other crystals. So it was a very powerful crystal. So you got to see like if you're mixing them together, if one's actually taking over or outpowering the other one.
So
But
you've got a bully. You got a bully
exactly, yeah,
crystal.
the bully crystal,
Jade
right?
was the bully
That's higher
crystal. It
frequency
had to
crystal.
go.
Right. So, I mean, like, there's all different metaphysical properties and physical properties and scientific properties of these stones just because we relate to them. Just like, again, we're talking about mushrooms. We're really relatable to mushrooms. We're very close. Humans are very close to mushrooms and the species. And although, there's a, interconnectedness in like a world wide web when you talk about, these mushrooms and they communicate with each other, the same is true with the stones, which is really cool too. So if you ever have like a stone, and this is why, a long time ago when warriors would go to war, they would actually split up a stone and give one to the wife and one to the warrior. And it was so they could feel each other and they could be in each other's energy still. They still talk to each other, just like we can talk to each other with energy. So stones are very, very fascinating.
I didn't know that. That's a trip.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I have to go get some stones now so I can
Well, you
split them
have
up on a.
stones,
I
right?
go to the store and give one to my girlfriend, and I'm gonna go to the store for a little bit. If you need to, call me. Right.
Yep, that's right. The snow cone, like Flintstone.
Exactly.
It's like
Exactly. Um,
they got the shell phone.
yeah, there's, oh boy, there's so much interesting stuff in the world of like science fiction that, you know, if the mind can perceive it, it can achieve it. Whether we're creating this stuff or we're rediscovering these things, it just kind of comes, from some other place, God or the universe or whatever else, and it works our way into these entertainment devices that we have. A lot of the stuff that we're talking about, I mean, we see it again and again and again through different science fiction shows and things like that. That like you said once before, the purpose of us might be to forget that we have this power, to forget where we really come from. Maybe we've been here for 1,000,000 years. Maybe this is the third evolution of humankind on this planet or more. Maybe this is just it's a circle, never stops, right? Both of you actually went through a number of your own versions of collapses, health crisis, depression, anxiety, feeling like your gifts, didn't fit inside the conventional box and kind of pushing those things away. The intuition that we all have sometimes to say, we should go left, but we end up going right because someone else said we should go right, or we didn't want to look like a weirdo that went left, right? What are some of the emotional or spiritual pivots that you had to make before the science and the tech really revealed itself or before it mattered? I'd love to get both of your takes on like how you came to this kind of like this place where you're at now.
Mine was literally I got smacked down. Like, I I needed to kinda be hit over the head, and that's kind of what unfortunately, because I hadn't listened most of my life, and, that's what led me to engineering too. It's like, "Oh, you're good at math and science," and I really like Top Gun, and My uncle worked for Lockheed. It was just kinda like, this is the logical thing, and I'd always been operating in this very black and white reality where it's like, well, if A plus B, then C. And I'm working in, I'm a civilian hire, DoD hire, working on an Air Force base, and about a year into my government job, I start having these crazy mysterious symptoms that came out of nowhere that even at that point in time, I attributed to all of, like, the logical things. Like, it might be chemical toxicity for working on the base and, like, the old barracks, or I had food intolerances and I was eating something that it was reacting with my body. But the symptoms were so debilitating where I was literally having chronic severe migraine headaches, vomiting till I had nothing inside my body. I was losing limb function, losing vision, and my boss is bringing me to the ER and they're doing MRIs of my head and my neck looking for like tumors and blocked ventricles. So it got so severe so quickly. Um, and that's really the only time that I've attributed, like, I've heard a voice inside my head that's like, "If you don't leave here, you're going to die." And I left. And I remember the day that I was driving away from the base and that job and everything, and it was like a veil was being lifted off my head. But in my mid-20s, I still didn't realize what living out of alignment with my purpose meant. And it literally took me another 10 years as I was trying to figure out my own health imbalances, the gut issues, and all of the other things that were never correlated to the symptoms I was experiencing neurologically. Um, that looking back is like, I was never meant to be in the military industrial complex. I might have had to see that to have a level of understanding. Like you guys were talking about the technology earlier, like the things that we're seeing rolled out now, if you look at, like, top secret programs and, like, Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and all that, like, the technology that we're seeing now was developed 20 or 30 years ago. So it's like having had that knowledge to be able to comprehend the work that we're doing now, none of it is an accident, but I didn't realize then that I was put on this planet to help people, not hurt them, and I had to go on this journey with every step of it in order to be doing the work that we're doing now.
How about you, Mike?
So, I mean, it's it's a long story, but I was born with this gift, and I didn't even realize that I was born with this gift. And for example, when I would walk through a crowd when I was young, I would walk through it and I would pick up people's energy. I would pick up their emotions. I would pick up their pains. So I'd walk out on the other side and my leg would be hurting. I would have anxiety, heart palpitations, and I just didn't know what was happening, you know? And I was born into, or I guess I chose, two military parents to really harden me and actually show me that, I really need to come into myself to figure out what was going on because the universe wasn't going to show me right away. So, I mean, although I had these abilities, I didn't know what they were, right? And I was perceiving them of something bad because every time I would have a heart palpitation or every time like some pain would come up that I knew that couldn't possibly be mine, I would tell my mom or my dad, and they're like, "No, kid, you're a hypochondriac. You should just walk it off." Right? That's the big military, like, father would be just walk it off. You're fine. Even if you have a broken leg, walk it off. Don't show any emotion. Don't show pain. So living with this and, being able to being able to feel people's pain, to be able to hear voices, to see things, and to not really have like a foundation of anywhere where I could show or confide in anybody to see what these actually were was really difficult for me. So what I did is that what many people do is when it gets scary or you don't understand things, you just shut it off, right? So I shut it off for many years, still going on with these symptoms and these pains that just show up randomly. And, it just started compiling, but I know that it got worse when I was, like, on the wrong track with, like, relationships or things that were happening in my life. Something in my head would just, like, because I feel it physically, something would go, "Oh, something's not wrong. We're gonna put you into a fight or flight really quick so we can, show you what's going on and, like, really tell you that you're not on the right path." Um so I mean, like, I was always just trying to figure it out, trying to live as a normie, right? And there was a time where it slapped me in the face too. I was in my 20s and I started to have severe anxiety, severe depression, where it came to the point where I wanted to end my life a couple times. You know, I just didn't know what was going on. The voices were getting more intense. The images that I saw that other people didn't see got more intense. And I was like, man, this is weird. I'm a weirdo. This is something that, I'm dealing with. And on the outside world, in a very 3D world, people perceive that as like something is wrong with you. So I put that into my head and I was like, okay, something is wrong with me, right? Something is, you have anxiety, you have depression, and for me, also growing up with another label of dyslexia, it was very difficult for me because I was pretty much ostracized and I was, not, I didn't fit into the norms ever. So until it got super unbearable, and the universe has a really good way of doing this, is getting it so unbearable that you actually need to look in a different direction or change your perception to actually change something in your life. So I was like, I remember I was just laying in bed one night and I was like, what is going on with me? There's something that's happening. And there's always been like glimpses of like, oh, that might be you, or like there's something else that's happening, that's that you might have magical powers or you might be like this superhero type of thing. And I would always like, negate that. But I needed to go in. So I started meditating and I started going in. And the first book that I ever got that was gifted to me by my mother was The Law of Attraction. And I read that book cover to cover 9 times. I loved it. I love the concepts. I love that you can manifest and materialize things just by your thought alone. And for me, I'm a very visual person. I can visualize it, I can feel it. So that's like the perfect mixture of being able to manifest tangibly in your reality. So I read this book cover to cover 9 times. I loved it so much that I actually went on Facebook and I reached out to the author of The Law of Attraction. And I was like, man, your book literally saved my life. Thank you so much. I've read this cover to cover 9 times. It's absolutely amazing. I don't even know who I'm writing at this point. It could be like, their uh, assistants or whatever. I get a message back really soon later and it goes, awesome. You're welcome. Would you like to come on my show to give your testimonial? And I was like, yeah, I would love to go on the show. So, the long story short, I went on the show, had an amazing time. We were talking about law of attraction. The author of the law of attraction had a course to become a law of attraction trainer. So I obviously did that because I wanted to learn more. I wanted to go deeper into how I can manifest tangibly into my life. And then, I just started steadily being on this hangout or before podcasts. It was like a podcast, right? Where we would literally talk about the law of attraction, how it's helping your life. And people would come on and we would have guests that would, say how they're tangibly manifesting with the law of attraction. And it was probably the 51st episode. I actually remember it was the 51st episode when we actually had a guest of a medical intuitive. And the medical intuitive came on, and for some reason, I was really uncomfortable. Like I could actually feel him like piercing piercing my head with his eyes the whole time through the screen. It was like a really surreal like feeling. And I was like, man, I hope I don't have to talk to this guy, to like interview him, get like a little bit of prattle back and forth. But then, afterwards, we went off alive and he was like, Mike, you need to call me. And I was like, oh man, this sucks because he was like, beaming lasers into my head and I didn't know it felt super uncomfortable. So I called him afterwards and he was without a doubt, like so convincing. He's like, Mike, you're medical intuitive. He's like, you shared your story and everything that you were experiencing, I experienced. And I know so many other people that have experienced that their entire life and they didn't know what's happening. You're a medical intuitive. You need to take these courses. You need to read these books. And that changed my life completely. completely from that day forward. And mind you, I still had anxiety, still had severe anxiety, severe depression. And I actually started reading these books and meditating more. And I actually came across something called the emotion code. And the emotion code is by Dr. Bradley Nelson. And it has everything to do with energy and emotions that you're carrying that causes these imbalances. And I did the course. Obviously, went through it really quick, and like was like second nature to me. And I was helping all these people, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to take the time to start helping myself. So I looked in and I started removing emotions and removing these symptoms and these energies out of my body. And I remembered as I was doing it, I could feel like I was peeling layers off of an onion, right? And I was getting lighter. I was getting lighter, and things didn't seem so bad. And this was just one session. And I remember something somebody was telling me about a heart wall. So I went in my heart wall, I removed all the emotions. It was so powerful that I was crying, I was upset, and just releasing these emotions. And when I came out of it, my anxiety was completely gone. But at this time, I was still on medication. So I was on SSRIs, I was on Klonopin, I was on Xanax, and I was taking those every time I felt something so I could shut off my emotions. I wasn't feeling it. So after I was able to release those emotions and I was like, wow, it feels a lot lighter, I got off all of that medication cold turkey. And I do not recommend this to anybody to get off this medication cold turkey, but something in my head said, you need to get off this. It's poisoning you. It's stunting you. It's stunting your gifts. Once you get off of it, it's just going to be so amazing that you're going to be able to, do things that you never thought you would be able to. So that was the weirdest, most effed up, amazing 3 weeks of my life because I actually had to turn into a monk, right? To be like, these aren't my thoughts. These are my thoughts. This is what the medication was telling me. This is the energy that the medication was bringing, and I have to separate those two. So it was just so profound for me on my journey to really find these people. And I guess those are the pivots, are finding these people, these mentors that were helping me along my journey, but getting better and actually having to do the work on myself before I could actually share it with the world.
I have a very important question to ask you right now, Mike.
Please.
Can you see dead people?
I
Can you
have been
feel
able
dead people?
I can actually, so during sessions, and I turned it off in the beginning because it was just so freaking weird and scary, but I could hear dead people. I would be working on people and something would come in and it would say, tell them I love them, or tell them I'm sorry, or that red car that was in the driveway, tell them to remember that, just these like things that no one else would know to give them that hope. And 9 times out of 10, when I would actually, when I started listening to that, and I was like, one day I was like, you know what? Screw it. These are so loud that I just need to tell this person that I'm hearing it. So I told them, and they ended up in complete tears. But then there were tears of sadness to joy to, oh my gosh, how did you know that? And it was just like, channeling that energy to really to help them. But yeah, I can hear them. I've seen my grandmother, who's been exponential mentor on my life, and that's a whole nother story. I mean, like I didn't know who my grandmother was because she didn't speak English. She spoke Japanese until 5 years after she passed. And then she came to me during a meditation and showed me my whole Japanese lineage, like when I was a samurai, my past lives, everything. It was absolutely insane. So I guess to answer your question, yes, all of the above.
Awesome. I know everyone was thinking the same thing I was. I had to ask, Like, are you going to ask, George? You got to ask.
I'm glad you asked because you gave these people a voice. So
Yeah, now they can finally, like, lower that anxiety, like,
Yeah.
we finally
Exactly.
know. They've
Yeah.
got some
Right.
closure to that question.
Right.
Uh, it sounded like in both of your journeys, it took a moment to actually detox, not just physically, but detox mentally and just with the chatter and the noise. You said that you had to become a monk for a period of time, like, just shutting off the constant hum and drone of everything else around you, everyone's agenda trying to suck you in, whether you're scrolling through Facebook. In this case, yeah, maybe early on there was no Facebook, right? It's much better life back then. Um, but for those people who are they're in a state of confusion, for lack of a better term, I think that's what I could say. Like they don't know what to do because I think technology, the 5G, the social media networks, like the TV, the news, even podcasts out there, they keep people so entertained and confused. How would you recommend that they start to detoxify from the noise so they can finally recover and hear their own voice, so they can hear their own thoughts and not someone else's thoughts?
Ooh, it's a loaded question because there's so many things that can be done. And I know that we've been talking all about like this toxic soup that you're bathed in all day long. Well, some of the things that we love to do and that we incorporate into our daily life, we create a white space in our bedroom. So, slight of having a Faraday cage around your bed. So, like the hat is for your head, like actually having an entire canopy of specific metals over your bed that blocks any frequencies from entering while you sleep. The next best thing and easiest and cheapest thing you can do is turning your Wi-Fi router off at night because when you're sleeping, you don't need it. Even if you have a smart home, it's really not that big of a deal to just when you turn your TV on or if you have the Nest or whatever Air's AC handler thing, you need to just reprogram it in the morning. It's not a big deal because you're gonna sleep so much deeper just from that one thing. If anyone's sleeping with their phone anywhere near their body, it shouldn't be within 5 feet of your body especially when you're sleeping. We recommend putting it on airplane mode and keeping it in the bathroom or just another room if you can. We realize that there's a lot of like parents of teenagers or, like people taking care of like their elderly folks and they need to keep their cellular on. The next best things to keep it from transmitting but still getting cellular signal is just to turn the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi off, and then you can just keep the cell phone on. So simple little like hacks like that. Changing out your bedroom lights from LEDs to incandescents. So as the sun sets, you're not getting those wavelengths of blue light in your eyes, which disrupt the production of melatonin and our body's ability to relax and get deep sleep. And then the next best thing that we love to do is we wanna set our frequency for the day. So, like, the thoughts that we think the very first hour that we wake up in the morning, we keep our phone on airplane mode, we don't check the notifications. We go get full spectrum sunlight, so we're going first thing in the morning, even if it's cold, we're going outside and getting sun. Sometimes we do infrared sauna, which is an awesome addition, but not essential, but just really taking a couple breaths, even if you don't have this much time, but taking like closing your eyes, going inward, taking 3 deep inhale and exhale breaths and finding maybe a gratitude practice like, "Oh, wow, the sun is shining today." Like, if you can't find things to even be grateful for, if it looks really bleak outside, like, "I have air in my lungs." Like, just start really simple to start shifting your own personal vibration. Because we like to equate it like this, like, you're gonna find a resonant match. So it's like magnetism, it's polarity. So and we've all had these days before you wake up out of bed and like you stub your toe and like that's the starting frequency. And then you're running late for work and like you're sitting in traffic. And then you spill your coffee. So it's like this frequency of frustration that continues to propagate and manifest. You're actively tangibly creating the reality around you. So if you can interrupt that program like when you first start the day, like say you did stub your toe, if you can like stop the momentum right then and there and like come back to your breath, which is free. We come into this world breathing. It's the most important and free tool that we have to use. Take a couple breaths, find a few things to be grateful for, get some clean water in your body. A lot of us are dehydrated and they don't realize how stressful that is on the body, just being dehydrated. And then starting your day after that. Like just finding a way to stop the momentum and interrupt the pattern because these are all things that we're conditioned. Like, we've been doing these things for so long that they're just normal. So for us, even in our own healing journey, it was like deconditioning ourselves, rewriting the programs and like starting to live the life that we desire and realizing that we're capable and powerful enough to do that.
Yeah. So I want to add to that a little bit. So that's definitely, the physical way that you can do that. But to really come back into yourself, I attribute a lot of my healing to meditation, going within and just quieting the mind. And meditation, I wasn't a pro when I started. I mean, like I started with this incredible app. It was out of Britain. I don't even think it exists anymore. But it's like, okay, close your eyes. Think of a thought. Open your eyes. Congratulations, you just meditated. And that shift was like so important, although it's like ridiculous to me. It's like, oh wow, that is my meditation. And meditation, as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, become familiar with, right? So become familiar with your thoughts. And they're not, although they do seem scary, because when we have an emotion that's attached to a thought, that's attached to your nervous system, that gives the cascade of these crazy chemicals that make you feel a certain way. If you can actually change the perception in which you see, like she says, you stub your toe in the morning, you have to take an extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes to like bandage it up or whatever, or like start walking right again. Well, and you were like late for work, but you don't even realize what that could have been saving you from, right? That might have been the universe or God saying that you need to slow down, dude. You need to like start looking or bringing you back in, because sometimes the best like aha moments are happening when you have like a crazy like jolt, right? So things that are like put you back into perspective. So changing your perspective on life and saying like, things aren't happening to me, they're happening for me every single day. And I mean, like after we started doing this, I mean, like I've always done this, and then we started doing this together as a couple, Alyssa and I, like every little thing that happens doesn't seem like it's so big anymore, because we know that it's happening for us. If we get like an unexpected expected phone call, or we get stuck in traffic, or something happens in our life that like puts a pause on it, we kind of like look at each other now, because we had that ability to change our perception and go like, what are we actually being saved from? What is this teaching us? So a lot of, I guess, societal constructs are like stress is bad. Stress is horrible. When you're mad, it's bad. Don't be mad. Don't be angry. But I mean, like, it's just training your body on how you can actually deal with these emotions when they come up, right? So you don't get as angry. It's like, so why am I actually angry? And what is this anger doing to me? This anger is actually hurting me. It's down regulating every sense of my being, my nervous system, down regulating my cells, making cheap copies of, proteins in my body now, because that anger, the norepinephrine and everything that's in your body is making cheap copies. And it's like, well, why? Why am I hurting myself? But I think the biggest part to step out of it is perception of you. And if you take yourself out and give yourself a 30,000-foot view of what your life is, okay, this is happening to me. No, you're wrong. It's happening for me, right? And what is this saving me from? What can I do in the future to become better, more resilient to these things that are happening around me? And that's a life changer right there.
If our bodies are wired to tell us what it needs, like you're hungry, you should probably eat, right? You're thirsty, you should probably drink. Then why is it such a slippery slope? Then we start to get angry or anxious. Do we feel like we want more of that? We want to
Because
go
it
off the
feels good.
rails.
It it feels good to feel bad sometimes, right? But that's your body releasing stored up, pent up aggression and energy that you need to look at. You can't not look at that anymore. It became so intense. These trapped emotions, these energies, these blockages, these beliefs came so intense that what your body has to do is just release it. It's like a purge valve, right? It's like a tea kettle. So you need to release it in some way, energetically, emotionally. It's just based on survival too. It's like, where do I, animals out in nature, when they are hunting, they get the adrenaline, they get the cortisol so they can sprint. The blood goes to their extremities so they can get away from being eaten, or they can go attack and eat their food, right? But right after, they are able to come back from that, and they're not holding on to that anger or energy anymore because they expended it. And sometimes you can see out in nature that animals are shaking, and that's another like incredible modality to do, is just like shake. I mean, it might sound crazy, but like when you shake your body, your whole energy system gets, rattled up, and you actually release that pent up energy that's in your bodies and your energy centers, and physically as well. So I mean, when you see that in nature, and that's actually happening, we're animals too. So I mean, like, we do it in different ways, but because we're intelligent, I guess, sometimes you can actually,
Debatable.
debatable sometimes, right? You can actually release these energies that, otherwise you wouldn't even know what's happening. It could actually be saving you from a heart attack. It could be saving you from imbalances in your body that you don't even realize. It's a natural mechanism.
This portion of our podcast is being sponsored by Joe's Kickboxing. No, I'm just kidding. Get that energy out.
Yeah, right.
Wired but tired. Like, what is that? That we've heard that. I've heard it a lot, and sometimes you feel it. Sometimes you're like, what is that? Like, where's that coming from?
Mhm. So we're talking a lot about the body signals and how with repetition being out of alignment with our circadian rhythm and just doing things that are not natural and not how we've evolved, switches our wires. So we're talking, Mike mentioned cortisol that's produced in the adrenal glands, these tiny little walnut sized glands that are sitting on top of our kidneys. So our brain sends this signal, whether, we're sitting in front of the computer now and I get a notification or someone cuts me off in traffic. I'm not actually like, I mean, I guess I'd have to react in that moment, but I'm not being chased by a literal tiger where these responses are happening, but I'm not escaping. I'm not using my extremities where the glucose is being sent for me to literally fight, flight, or freeze in these situations. And this is happening all day, every single day. We're carrying our devices, we're being bombarded with these EMF frequencies, we're having food that's not of the best quality being, served to us these days. So all of these things act as stressors on the body, and the body can't, in its, Stone Age, non-upgraded software, doesn't know the difference. So it sends this chemical cascade from our brain into those adrenal glands to produce cortisol. Cortisol, we need it. Without it, we're dead. But we need it to be in the right rhythm. So it's responsible. We talked about melatonin a little earlier for balancing melatonin. So cortisol rises, peaks about 60 minutes after we wake up, and then gradually is supposed to decline throughout the day. With us being exposed to all of these screens, all of this blue light, the non-native lights and the EMF frequencies, our circadian rhythms being impaired. So then you go to lay down and go to sleep at night and your body still thinks it's being chased by a tiger. So it's not time to go to sleep when you need to be hypervigilant. Your body literally thinks it's under attack. So getting deep, restful sleep, this is why the brain starts to turn on. You've been exhausted all day long, so you didn't sleep well the night before. So you're tired all day and now you're wired at night and you're like, why is this happening? My body's betraying me. And it's really not. It's actually this a very intelligent system, this biology that's trying to keep us alive. So these things, we have these incredible tools now, nothing like our modern society, like creating a problem and now selling a solution, but, having to create a balance between these things because the frequencies aren't going anywhere, the devices and the demands on our work every single day, that the schedule's not getting any lighter. So what can we do? What are the things that we can implement to help us adapt to our modern lifestyle? I'm not going to go just check out and live on a farm anytime soon. So
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the next episode. How to check
Homesteading.
out and go live on a farm.
That's
Yeah,
right. Coming to you from this beautiful field.
Exactly. Right here.
There you
that's a
go.
dream.
You can see it.
It's
I'm
funny.
manifesting right now.
That's it. You are. You're already there. You're putting yourself there. Proud of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing like that last scene from Gladiator when he's walking through the field. I'm like, oh, I want to be there.
Oh, yeah.
But not really, not yet. Not
Everything
yet.
else
Right.
that he went through.
Fast forward. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course.
Exactly. Um, I had a crazy idea as we were talking through some stuff. When you started talking about a netting, right, for
Mhm.
EMF,
Mhm.
and I thought to myself, huh, if well, this is positive and negative, right? Lead paint. Does they said lead paint's so bad for you. Is it really that bad for you, or is it that they just didn't want they wanted the EMF to have no problem getting to us, so they said like, don't put lead paint in your walls anymore.
I
I
wanna
wonder.
know what parents were allowing their kids to eat paint chips. Like, please tell me what kids were just sitting on at, like, next to the wall eating paint chips. I don't know if that was ever a thing, or
Yeah.
that's just what we were sold,
I
that
mean, I was a
that
weird
makes it
kid,
illegal.
but I would never think twice about eating paint chips. I mean, I saw them as a kid and it's like, oh, that looks good. That kind of looks like a Lay's potato chip. Sweet. I'll have some.
Butter knife in the wall socket.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
hey, don't do that. Like, okay,
Right. I mean, like
natural
some of
selection.
us have to learn that that was bad. That's my first introduction to electricity. So thank you for bringing up that.
That actually that happened to me. I
Interesting.
was curious. I was just curious
That,
one day.
me too. I mean,
You
like,
too?
it must be a guy thing. I mean, like, I'm sure Alyssa's like, you guys just sticking things in the sockets. Yeah, we are. That's what we
That's
learned.
totally a guy thing, but we won't go
That's
there.
actually how we got our powers. Yeah,
That's what I was gonna say the same thing. All of a sudden, I started hearing voices after that.
yeah,
It wasn't from drinking from the garden hose or anything. It was from the
exactly.
light
Oh,
source.
don't do that.
Yeah, it's either that or
Mainline,
the paint chips. One of the two. I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
and then you plugged yourself
But,
into the grid, and here we are.
but
Yeah, yeah,
it's funny.
exactly.
It's funny
Um,
too because like with the lead paint, I mean, like if you think about it, lead is another metal that's very protective, right? I mean, like they had lead vests when we go to the dentist, right? To
Still
keep,
do.
yeah,
or we still do, right? That have, lead in the vest so we don't get the radiation. I mean, there's a reason why they stopped painting the houses with lead paint, and it's probably not because they're eating paint chips. It's because it was actually protecting us from their agenda, whoever they are, whatever these people, things, aliens
That's the
are.
speculation.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
day is always a speculation.
yeah, and I mean, but I mean, I believe that it was for far nefarious tactics. I don't think that lead
Just
paint.
like blue roofs.
Right.
blue roofs. I haven't heard this one yet.
Oh, the blue roofs with the satellites. So when,
Wait, you haven't heard you know the Maui fires.
Oh,
oh,
that okay. Gotcha,
yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, the houses with blue roofs that mysteriously just didn't burn down when all of the other there's just devastation around them. Looks like a blue ocean. So, directed energy weapons, DEWs, are very real.
I thought that was just Oprah's house that didn't burn down.
well, she had a blue roof too, right? Oh no, she
That
didn't.
she had
No.
it painted the week before.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
All of a
If she
sudden,
didn't, she took out an insurance claim.
right? Exactly. The towers, right? The only guy who didn't show up for work was the guy who owned the twin towers that day, right?
Yeah.
That was what, a month before that he took out a new insurance
Oh
policy?
yeah. I mean, people
Yeah.
should really
How
look into that one.
convenient. Hmm, I
Yeah.
don't know, zeitgeist, that was crazy.
Totally. Um,
Conspiracies.
food. We talked a little bit about food. And detox. So I'd like to just kind of go down that path because I think you made a good point when you say that what we put in our body actually becomes us, and you are what you eat. We've heard that for some of the other things outside. Don't drink out of garden hoses. It's you are what you eat. So we're in that space. Like, what are some really good foods that can also help us eliminate some of that brain fog and allow us to tap into nature? Uh, is organic enough, or should we be growing our own stuff? Like, I'm just curious.
If you can. If
Yeah.
you can grow your own, that would always be, from heirloom seeds that have been collected over generations that haven't been hybridized or turned into, Monsanto's Terminator seeds. So, all of this is of consideration. I know that's a big goal for Mike and I in our future is to be able to own a significant amount of lands and be able to not only live on it ourselves, but also be able to host events where we're actually teaching people. We worked on, this is going to sound crazy, but during the pandemic, we had an opportunity to manage aquaponic farms. So we learned how to grow food in a scarcity situation. So being able to leverage different modalities, whether it be in-ground raised beds, aero aquaponics, like having this like living demonstration and inviting people to learn how to literally nourish and take care of themselves. We truly believe, like, even beyond nutrition, light, water, and magnetism are the most important things that most of us are lacking. You know, we're walking around in rubber soled shoes and concrete foundations disconnected from the natural earth. So, starting there in a hierarchy and working your way down, and then wondering where, the nutrition's coming from. Yeah, I mean, our food's been so bastardized. Not even just even the natural food. Organic, they've shown in studies, helps reduce glyphosate significantly, which is water soluble. But most of those organic farms realize like you're growing organic maybe at the center point of the farm and they have conventional all the way around it. So it's getting overspray. So there's just so much where it's like control what you can, let the rest go. Like, having an idea that, like, you're living in a city, you're working a job, and you're doing the best that you can. Um, a really simple guide we like using or, showing people EWG.org, environmental working groups like Dirty Dozen. So buy those foods organic and then the Clean 15, you can buy those conventional if, cost consideration, organic food in general is getting more expensive. So it's like, do what you can for you and your family, but, like, not living in the rabbit hole of that, like, everything is poison because, again, this is your control center, right? What the mind believes, the body achieves. So if you believe that everything in your environment is poison, it literally your body is going to change the frequency and vibration on that. So,
Should tell the chocolate cake story.
Chocolate
um,
cake.
Yeah.
yeah, so there's literally the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. It was based in Colorado, if it still even exists now, and they did a clinical study that with two sets, a control group and then the active group, that were women eating chocolate cake to prove if, like, a minute on the lips, forever on the hips, that whole philosophy. Which is, amazing quote that us women, if you're raised by any woman raised by a mother that really cared about how she looked, they know this quote.
My mom said it to me too, so it's true. No.
And they actually were able to prove, so they had a group that were literally just looking at the chocolate cake, never consumed the calories, and were like, again, believing this philosophy that I'm going to gain weight. And they physiologically gained weight, actually added pounds on their frame without ever consuming the calories. So this is how little we actually know about like calories in, calories out. And they're like, a 2,000 calorie a day diet is healthy. It has nothing to do with that, because 2,000 calories of a chocolate cake is gonna digest completely different than 2,000 calories in eating, say, avocados, natural fruits and vegetables. What your body's actually able to do with that. And then actually not having anything to do with a caloric intake at all. Because the women that ate the chocolate cake every single day of this study and believed that they were losing weight actually lost weight. So everything that we know or thought we knew is a lie.
Yeah. And it's so important to put intention into your food too. That's why we pray at tables. That's actually the real reason why we pray, is to actually change the vibration of the table so we can have goodwill towards everybody that's at the table, and also change the frequency of the food, because there's a frequency in which the food holds all the time, because it's actually imprinted with water, right? The water that we grow our vegetables in, and that we feed our cows and cattle and all that stuff with, and the food that they eat, we are what they eat, right? So I mean, it's just it's very important to change the frequency of the food, and to say thank you for this food, thank you for this nourishment. It's going to nourish my body. I'm going to feel amazing. It's going to, and you could even put into it like it's going to cure X, Y, and Z, because your body will listen and actually take the nutrients and do exactly what it needs to do with them. So that's the reason why we actually pray. And we always pray and put energy into our food that way. It's just being grateful, or, just changing the frequency. I mean, I believe, and this is kind of far out there, but there's a certain frequency that they're actually putting in food that is causing more damage than the actual chemicals that they're grown in. Not to mention that the fluorinated water that they use, gosh, God knows if it's even, filtered at that point. But I mean, everything, it just like we said, The sand, the stones, the water that comes from this earth is all beautiful and programmed and um, just really imprinted with this beautiful earth frequency. But then when it gets into, the hands of people's intention that don't have the best intention for us, that actually gets translated into our food. So we really have to change that, codex within ourselves and within our food.
I like the idea of growing your own food. Um, being the former publisher of Survivalist magazine, we I've never felt more free in my life than when I studied survival and preparedness because I realized I got this.
Mm.
No matter what happens, grow chickens, harvest eggs, grow sprouts, which is the easiest thing. Anyone can grow
Yep.
sprouts, lettuce sprouts, broccoli sprouts. It's so healthy for you.
Mhm.
It doesn't always taste the best, unless you start getting get a habit for that. But once you start getting into it, it's like it's amazing. You put it on everything. But I think so. Coming back to this whole like what you put in your mind, you know, will keep propagating, more of that. How do you balance, or just out of curiosity, how do you balance like a preparedness mindset with not going down the rabbit hole of being scared to death that the world's going to collapse and everything else? Or is it? And we should all be, ready.
I
That
think
might be the real psyop in itself. Might
right?
not be the world's falling.
Honest
It might be your perception, and these things aren't even on. They just tell us that they are, and
Mhm. There is no 5G. It's just
there
they
is
told
no
us there was no
5G.
5G.
There is no, yeah, crazy, crazy thoughts. But
Yeah, thoughts become things is the biggest. I mean, we have these conversations all the time because I think when you pierce the veil, like once that door is open, you can't close it, and it's unfortunate because the initial, like, breakdown to break through has to happen, so it's like the entire worldview for people gets shattered once they stop plugging into mainstream media and just believing that everything that they've been told is the actual reality. So, I think for some, it can get really scary initially because, again, it's like you're stepping into the unknown, and people are more comfortable to remain complacent in a life that they might not even love, like, they're complaining about the existence, but it's a familiar known that they'd rather deal with than stepping out into something that they've never experienced before. I think that's far scarier for most people. So, they wrestle with all of these emotions that come up, fear, I think, initially, like, separating us from, this beautiful collective that in this ideology we thought that was, and then it's like anger, like, so you're talking about, like, even in the survivalist realm and people prepping, like, there's some level of, like, self-righteousness, like, "How could you do this? Why are we minutes to midnight? They have the nuclear codes." Like, all of these things that kinda come up where you're like, "This could all be a reality for us." And then I think as you continue across the spectrum, there comes some level of peace, especially if you're starting to take personal responsibility, and then you come to a place where you're like, "Well, I'm doing the best that I can." With the inputs and all of the knowledge and everything that I've gained, and if the world's gonna end, it's gonna end, and you just kinda like, "I can control what I can, I gotta let the rest go." Like, we talked about chemtrails earlier, we're not shooting the planes out of the skies, we see it, it is what it is, we don't even know what organizations or agencies are doing it. But what we're doing on a day-to-day basis to just detoxify our body and, you know, keep our thoughts positive instead of living in the stress, which is far more toxic than anything else, is, the negative thoughts that are harming people's health and causing all of these inflammatory diseases. Yeah, I mean, you have to walk this path out with yourself, and on the other side of the breakdown, the breakthrough is beautiful.
it really is. And it's like you don't want to walk around being like Bubba Boy, right? We don't want to be all protected the whole time. I mean, it's just there's also some point of, I guess, what's the word? Oh, man, I just had it. But you have to like gear yourself up towards these things, right? And it's becoming resilient, right? Resiliency. And that's what I tell a lot of people if like they're doing like a cold plunge or a sauna or whatever. It's not because, yes, your body's stressing and it works on stress, but I mean, like, it's because your body isn't used to being that hot or being that cold. So when we start doing that on a daily basis, it might not get easier, but you build up resilience to it in your mind, saying, like, okay, this is what I'm going to experience. This is what's going to happen. So, I mean, like, becoming resilient to it is maybe something that we can't do, especially with frequencies, but becoming resilient in our minds, to be like, things are happening for me. These things are happening, yes, but we have the tools to actually help with them, right?
Is ignorance the most powerful form of medicine?
We talk about this all the time. I mean, like, if we didn't know the things, we,
Man.
we we would probably be in a dumb bubble somewhere, just being like, well, things are happening in most of the, society that's out there now, unfortunately. But I think ignorance has a lot to do with it. These things are actually still happening. I mean, like, there's instances where there's things that can change your mood, or you can learn about things and they can make you even more upset, or make you a hypochondriac, or make you worry about these things more. So I guess ignorance would be a little bit more bliss, but I rather know what's going on and tell people about it and be kind of like the, not the whistleblower, but like, the pioneer, so to speak, to be like, hey, this is, and it's literally in my chart to start a revolution. It's literally in my
Let's
chart.
start now. I'm
Let's
ready.
start,
Let's do
right?
it. I've got all the guns. Let's
There you
do
go.
it.
Awesome. Okay.
You're in
All right.
Florida.
Well, yeah, well, there exactly. But
Okay.
if you're, with the government, I don't have any guns.
No, no, no.
No, pacifist here. This
Yeah,
guy.
that's it. Yeah.
Second Amendment?
What is that? Is
I
that
don't
like
know
a
what you're
new?
talking about. I blacked out. What did we
It's
say?
like organic, right?
Yeah.
Second Amendment. It's just something they stick on something metal,
Yeah.
It's a bumper sticker somewhere.
right? Are we living in the Matrix? Are we living in a
Dude, these are
hologram or?
all the rabbit holes we talk about, because 'cause we're like, "Okay, if it really is the Matrix and we were to wake up in this, like, amniotic fluid and it was, like, with these it was all dark and gray with these very scary creatures trying to chase you and eat you in a spaceship," it's like, would I wanna wake up to that reality if that's what it was, or am I happy in the simulation? I
That's
don't
every
know.
morning for me. I mean, pretty much.
Gotta unplug.
Dungeons& and Dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, I love the reality that we've created for ourselves, and I do truly believe that we've manifested each other in our lives, whether we believe we've done lifetimes together before, whether you believe in incarnation or not, but I do believe that we were brought together to do this mission. A lot of the technology and everything that we are doing now, a lot of it has literally been channeled. We're just really good facilitators and we're listening, like we're kind of like vessels to responsibly bring this technology to the masses, because prior to the last couple years, which PEMF and these frequency technologies are becoming mainstream, these were for like the elites or for organizations like NASA, and they were never, readily accessible or affordable for anyone to just as a consumer to pick up or even still educated about it. I say 1% of the population maybe knows about it. We always joke. It's like you could sit next to someone on a plane and be like, "Have you heard about PEMF?" And they're like, "No, never heard of it before in my life. What is that?" So, it's really fun to be operating in this matrix, whether it is all a farce or not, and we're just in a giant petri dish, like a magnifying glass. I don't know.
The
I
ice
mean,
wall protects us. I'm just saying.
I mean, like, we're
Hey.
we would be ignorant to believe that there isn't a higher power, source, God, universe, whatever semantics you want to associate with it. I mean, we've experienced magic and miracles. Like, this is something where it's like an active practice of ours. So if anyone wants to adopt this, like, we stopped thinking about the things that we want to manifest and we started feeling like, what's the emotion that I want to feel? So, like, for us, it's like, I want to live in the reality that like magic and miracles manifest daily and so many cool things, like whether it's a conversation that we have with the chance meeting of someone, like things just crop up in our life that just like give us this feeling where it's like, thank you. Like we get to like live in that feeling of gratitude and love and, just like wonder what's going to happen next. So I guess we're just being like good stewards of this, not only the technology, but like intuition and like leaning into that. Like I'd love to just have more people believing in what is possible instead of living in the reality of lack.
Hmm. How do you know when you're getting the signal from the universe versus the programming and you're again playing out someone else's fantasy and someone else's agenda.
It's always gonna be back to the feeling because the program it runs deep. I mean, again, like, most of my life I've lived as I call myself a recovering type A, and Mike will look at me and he's like, "Recovering my ass." Like, still have a lot of these character traits where I hold myself to such a standard that in my younger years that made me sick, right? Like, I was a nationally competitive gymnast, I was an AP student, like, just overachieving, overachieving, burning the candle at both ends, and then wondering why my health literally collapsed. So I see that creep in, and he's such a great barometer for me, so anyone out there that has an incredible partner, like, you should be doing this together because your energy is infinitely, and exponentially increased together, but
Yeah,
you
you were
can
talking
ver
about energy
Yeah.
together. I mean, like it's incredible. Like with this woman, I've been able to manifest things that I never thought I could ever manifest before. And there's a reason for that because I'm what's called a projector. I see the 30,000-foot view. She's a manifester. When I say something that's going to happen and she's on the same level and she says, yes, that's a great idea, it manifests tangibly. It's insane. Like it's crazy. It's both of our energies that goes through. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'll
No,
let you
no,
finish
no,
it.
that's it's very relevant because it's like, on the same token, if we're not on the same page, things don't happen. So
Yeah.
that's how when you were talking about, like, the 6-foot distancing and, like, the
And it's not
power.
the my way or the highway type of thing. It's not because she's always right, but she is. I'm just gonna let
The
you know she's always
manifester,
right.
I can see it already. That's a superhero. Right.
That's right. But that's right. But
Like,
go ahead.
a
Finish.
Wonder Woman, yay. Uh, it's just, like, so fun to play in this vibrational reality because I didn't believe it when we met. And that's where it's like, you're like, "What's your journey to getting here?" And, like, I never thought I'd be using my engineering degree again when I left that career field, and it's like all of these things that were ancillary have been put together. So when he got brought into my life and our friend was like, "Have a session with him," and I go, "I'm a scientist, I don't believe in that woo-woo bullshit." And I didn't know I said it in front of him, I didn't actually remember, but it sounds like something that I'd probably say, just trying to be an ass. And, I wasn't really happy with the state of my own personal relationship at the time, my health, all of these things were still like there's like this, desire of where I wanna be and where I was, so it's like, "Alright, I've never tried this before," and I had a session with him, and the level at which things not only did I feel them viscerally and physically moving in my body, but the things that happened in my reality after that, that was like what pierced the veil for me and then indelibly changed everything in my life from then on. And when we fell in love and we got together, I you can't close the door. It's like we would think about something and it's like someone would like walk by and hand us like the thing that we were thinking about. We're like, "Oh my gosh, how was it?" Like for me, it shattered my entire worldview. So when you're like, how do you stay in this and know when you're on track? A, because things were literally showing up. B, it's because the feelings feel more good than not good. So I can tell when my conditioned programs come in because I feel separate from. So I'll have feelings of like bitterness, resentment, again, frustration or anger. Things crop up where I'm like, this isn't aligning with that divine spirit. This isn't that source connection that allows manifestation to come through. So it's about becoming again more intentional because it feels good to feel bad. Mike said that. There's like literally these chemicals that we get addicted to. So it's hard to break free from them. It doesn't matter if it's a physical substance that you're taking, like people get addicted to alcohol and cocaine. Like these chemicals flooding our body, like sugar is 10 times more addictive than cocaine. So like there's a lot of other substances than just illicit drugs that people talk about. That own hormones in our body. So learning to like pause, so we're all so distracted now with the devices and we're all moving so fast. But how do we just stop long enough and recognize like what is self, what is not self, what is the highest version of ourself and what feels like a crab in a pot in our life? Like what's trying to drag us down? And like how do we kind of like sever ties with those things and reinvent ourselves?
Yeah,
Can you detox from addiction?
For sure.
absolutely.
Your own
Yes.
Tell
chemical
me more. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Your own neurochemicals? Absolutely. So it's starting like again, interrupting and hijacking the program. And, Mike has mentioned Dr. Joe Dispenza's work a lot just because we see how powerful that has been for those that have been through that program. Where They're literally again, they're taken out of their life for, like, 7 days at a time to go to this retreat situation. I don't wanna call it, like, people that do rehab for detox. When you come back to your life and you don't actually implement those things, you go back to the same set and circumstances, so it's really hard for people to change when they go back to the same town, the same job, the same friends. Like, you have to become the master creator of your life. So if your location is the problem, you're just succumbing to the set of your circumstances and realizing, like, they tell us all these things, "Oh, you're only using 10% of your brain." It's like, "Okay, well, let's operate on more. Let's believe that we can be more than these set of sentences." Like, we're casting spells with our words right now. So what are the things that we're saying that are literally down regulating our biology and our immunity and our nervous system, and what are the things that we can do to amplify our own thoughts, feelings, creation, and then, manifesting that reality. So, yeah, we call it an addiction, and it's only like what's the feeling that you're assigning to that? What's the meaning and power over yourself that you're giving that term?
Yeah, and you put a label on it. When you put a label on anything, people start to believe it because it was told to you by a healthcare professional or whatever, somebody who has authority, quote unquote, right? But I mean, like addiction can definitely be walked back from. I mean, like there's things that I don't have an addictive personality, so I don't know how that feels. And that's my belief set, right? I I've smoked, I've drank, I've done other things, and it's fine. I don't ever want to go back to them. It's easy for me, right? But I believe also that people can walk back from it by themselves. But I was super fascinated with addiction because I actually wanted to make halfway houses, and I actually worked under this guy who had a ton of halfway houses, super successful. And he was like, if you ever want to be successful with halfway houses, you need to read the book Rat Park. Have you ever heard of Rat Park? So Rat Park is like there's a scientist that actually made like a literal amusement park for rats, right? There was one bottle on one side of the park that had water on it, another bottle that had heroin mixed with water, right? And there's a whole bunch of rats. When they were addicted, they would go over to the heroin water and then start to, play with the amusement park just a little bit. But then they added more rats into it, and the other rats, because they were in community, they were showing them what was possible, right? So they started playing, they started going on like the wheel, and they started running, and they started getting healthier. And then quite literally the rats that were seeing the other rats drink the heroin water were stopping them from doing that and bringing them over to the water, because that they were doing it together. And it's a very powerful, powerful book that changed everything for me. It's like, you really need, a support system when it comes to addiction. You can do it yourself. It's just not going to be as exponentially successful as when you do it with a group of people. But it's like they saw the rats drinking, they felt good, but they also saw the rats were dying too. So they actually say, hey, we need to start stepping away from this. Let's be more healthy and let's start drinking the water. So that like really got my wheels turning. It's like, man, we have to do things in community is super important. And as and that's what we have with Align too. I mean, like with community and like pupils 4-minute miles when they're running. It's like, somebody has a certain imbalance that this other person has, but they're completely healed from it and they did it themselves. That gave them the belief. That gave them I guess, the wherewithal to be like, you know what, if they did it, I can do it too. So that's like the premise of it, which is pretty special.
Maybe we should just start some spiritual halfway houses, right?
And that's
Hey, it's
fantastic.
funny. You want to hear something really funny? I own halfway.org. I was
Oh
thinking about
wow.
doing the
Okay.
same thing like
Wow.
No
two
way.
decades ago.
Oh my gosh. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
Wow.
that is crazy.
But for a different
Wow.
purpose. No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to help people get back
Yeah.
to life,
To
no matter what they
society.
went
Yeah.
through. It's like people go through all kinds of different things and it kind of wrecks you if you don't
Yeah.
have that support system. And I just saw a lot of halfway ventures that were just money
Money
makers.
grabs.
That
Yeah.
was it.
Right.
They weren't
Yeah.
really doing much for people, and I was like,
Exactly.
that's not right. So
Yeah, I
crazy
felt the same
idea.
exact way.
No,
You
it's a
know,
beautiful
Got
idea.
busy, got
yeah,
busy and, the signal was coming back in. I couldn't take it, and I got off track.
Well, here's a
Uh,
sign. And if you were talking about like, how do we know when the universe is actually telling you the signs or it's universe or something else?
Come on.
Those
We've
are the
never shared
coincidence.
that
Those
before.
are the magic that happens where you have to realize is be like, wait, he said what? And he wanted to do what?
Yeah. We've
we
never
could put
shared
it on
that
the
on the
farm.
podcast before, so if that's, like,
Yeah,
There
the
you
sign
go.
you're looking for, it's like, this is
there you
such a
go.
beautiful opportunity to maybe explore something deeper in that context and, like, with the twist that you're talking about and helping
Yeah.
people not believe in their identity, um,
Mm,
yeah, choosing a new one instead of, like, "I am a smoker,
Oh,
I what" like, stop,
yeah.
like, you are not, you are a sentient being, and you could choose a different reality for yourself. So, yeah, getting
It's
people together
crazy.
to believe what's possible, absolutely.
let's
Yeah.
get some
So
acreage and let's do this. You know what I'm
let's
saying?
do it. Yeah,
Oh.
I'm excited. We should definitely do that. I mean, it's crazy too because have you seen like if you look at like an alcoholic, they're living in a completely different reality. They're actually living a lie in which they are at that vibration, that lower vibration of the alcohol, right? That brings them down. And they're all dysregulated. Their hormones are out of balance because of the alcohol. And they are quite literally with a different personality and creating a whole different personal reality for themselves. So they're actually showing that alcoholics are actually telling lies to themselves so they can actually keep on drinking and feeling safe and familiar when they're having those drinks or cocktails or whatever.
Hmm.
The
Pretty
justification.
crazy. Just
Humans
Yeah.
love to be right, no matter what, like, we like to prove ourselves right, so this is also on a biology thing, so back to survival.
Yeah, I know a few of those people. A few too many of them.
yeah.
You know, most of them are in law enforcement, but we won't go there.
That's
Um,
a whole 'nother can of worms.
yeah,
Coping
so,
mechanisms.
right.
Yeah.
So there's a weird thing about high performers, and that is they only feel alive when there's chaos or they're pushing themselves and they're in the grind, right?
Mm.
Um, people's identities and their nervous systems, like you mentioned the labels, before. And what was coming to my mind when you were talking about labels is like, if you see a label on something, you probably should read the ingredients. So if someone's labeling you, like read the fine print. How do you help someone rewire themselves so that they can actually feel safe in that slowness and that relaxation and getting back to the place where they're just not like, go, 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 grind, grind, grind.
I mean, it definitely comes down to, getting them into a a routine, right? Because there are some people that get on technology, and this could be any type of relaxation technology, and they are high performers. They're always on, and you know what? I'm going to relax, and I'm going to do the best of relaxing that I possibly can, and I'm going to think about it. And here I go, I'm drifting off, and your body wakes you up because it's quite literally not safe for your body to relax. And that's like, when we have some of the instances where it feels like we're falling off a cliff when we're falling asleep, it's because our body and our muscles have stopped and it feels like the body has literally died. So it's a survival mechanism that goes on in your brain that tells our body to wake up. That's why we jolt awake to let us know that we're still alive. It's crazy. So, I mean, like to have people that are in high performers, I mean, you could do, and a lot of the things like, with my practice, it was like, I'm gonna tell you things that you wanna, what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. You need to sit down, you need to stop, you need to listen, you know. But for them, they're so ingrained in this program that they have to keep going and impress upon people or do things like, the best that they possibly can, that it rewires their nervous system to feel like they're in that situation at all times. So when they go to relax, they're having that feel of unsafety because they don't know what it feels like to relax for the first time. But when you actually take a moment, tell them to breathe, and just tell them that it's safe, 9 times out of 10, people will actually fall into a deep relaxation, and what we see with high performers, like, across the board, like, if it's on the mat or if it's during session, they pass out cold. They start snoring because that's exactly what their body needed, but they got out of their own way enough to know and show their body that they could do that. So
So a lot of this reprogramming has to happen in the subconscious mind. So like we're talking at a conscious level of mind, but the programs are running the operating system in the background in the subconscious. And where the limited capacity comes from is when the nervous system is in sympathetic overdrive, that fight flight response all the time. We literally don't have the bandwidth to create change. So leveraging tools that can help someone shift into parasympathetic and actually activate, like the vagus nerve and get them into that diaphragmatic breath. And, that's where you see breath work being so powerful because it's actively allowing that person, that high performer, to focus on doing something. And I can speak from experience on this. Like, Mike loves to meditate, and it's so easy for him to just stop and drop in. I don't stop, and I still struggle with that. So for me to have something to do, whether it's a moving meditation, if I could do it slowly in yoga and like focus on doing postures, and that allows me to slow the thoughts down and clear my mind, where it's actively like I'm meeting myself where I'm at. And that's like where, anyone that's watching, like meet yourself where you're at on your journey. Don't expect to just like sit down in silence and quiet. And then it's like everything's going to change for you. And I know for type A's, it's like give yourself some grace. Like we're not just trying to check another box. And I saw this like Mike and I had a clinical practice before we launched a line. And this was actually what birthed it because we wanted to help more people. But, like, in our clinical practice, we'd see it would call them, our good little type A's, because the same, the frequency of that you put out in the world is what you attract. So I was attracting people that were like me. And 6 months in, the people that weren't getting better, they're like, "I'm doing all the things. I'm doing the yoga, I'm meditating, I'm eating clean food, I'm sleeping, I've got the blue light blockers." Like, they're incorporating all of this stuff, but it's another job. It's another task for them to just check off. And it was never them, like, shifting turning it off because this was still constantly running, like, it was still in that fight flight mode. There's danger, even though it was something that was supposed to be helping them.
Hmm. How do you drop in to meditation so easily? Because like, I got the monkey mind,
Mhm.
you know? I don't mind calling myself a bit of a monkey because I can't seem to turn it off sometimes, especially when I sleep, and I have to exhaust myself so much, or put myself in a state sometimes, like where I watch, some sci-fi or something at the end. So I'm like, I'm out of my body and I'm in some other reality. And then I could finally fall asleep as I'm dreaming about someone else's, crazy interpretation of
Thanks for
things. But
seeing yourself.
how do you drop in to meditation so easily?
Well, I mean, nothing's going on up here at all. No, I'm joking.
It all makes sense. We
It all
figured
makes
it
sense.
out.
Yeah, yeah.
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance, exactly. I mean, like, I don't know. I think that there's inherently people that can meditate easier than others, but it's definitely a practice. Remember what I said about like having that app that I had from Britain that said, like, hey, you're doing 1 minute of meditation. Congratulations, you just meditated. There's more to that story. So it'd be 1 minute one day, it'd be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes all the way up to where I was able to do 3 hours. And it's not something that you forget. It's almost like, riding a bike when you're doing meditation. You'll never forget how to drop into that meditative state. You just need to become, or I recommend, you don't need to do anything, but I recommend that you just remember that meditation literally means to become familiar with. Like those thoughts, because those thoughts of sci-fi for you are comforting and it's zoning you out of your actual, to-do list or anything that you have to focus on, that's where you can get into the meditative state because they aren't inherently your thoughts, right? They're they're thoughts that kind of like distract you, right? So when you do that with your own thoughts, it's like, okay, did I feed my cat this month? Like, did I feed my cat before I went to bed or whatever? And it's like, okay, why am I having that thought? Oh, I want to feed my cat. And you start dissecting these, like, thoughts. They become these big, crazy, like worries into bite sized pieces, into things that really don't matter in the first place when you can actually discern if it's actually something that I'm really worried about or if my mind is just playing a trick on me just to keep me in this program. So it's a whole, practice that, I highly recommend that people start doing. But I mean, like, just meditation doesn't have to be 3, 4 hours a day. I mean, like, for some people, that's absolutely absurd. It can literally be 5 minutes a day. It can be 15 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be. As long as you can see what's going on in your mind, and that's when it becomes fun. When you see these things that are coming in your mind and you're like, "Oh, okay, that's what I'm thinking about. Why am I thinking that? Well, might not matter, so I'm just gonna let that pass." And then another thought's gonna come in, and another thought until your brain actually filed these things away, and now you actually become present, right?
Hmm. There's a book that I forgot the name of the book. Something about mastery, where they have 4 different levels of. So you have unconscious incompetence. You have no idea that you're not doing it right. Right. We all start there, and then you've got conscious incompetence. Right. So you realize I'm not doing it right. Okay, I need to fix this. And then you've got conscious competence, which is like you're trying to ride the bike. You're like, I'm riding it, and I'm not falling over. I'm competent. So, and then you've got unconscious competence, to where you don't think about it anymore. Like what you're saying, you can just drop in. I'm curious about your take on that.
For me, I think I would love to have had the app, like, the little wins for me, like, kinda like that validation, like, you're on the right track, would have been really helpful. Like, "I can do 1 minute. Okay, I can make that time." So, I think for myself and a lot of, high performers, we put way too much on our plate, um, more than many times more than we can get done, and it, like, sets ourselves up to be a reason why we didn't do enough or to be able to, like, beat ourselves up or punish ourselves, so it's, like, this weird self-fulfilling cycle where we need to overachieve more, so it's like we can prove to ourselves that we can do more, but it just keeps us busy and we're never actually present. So, before Mike and I began our journey, a lot of what I had done would be, like, run headfirst into brick walls, and it's like, "Well, I tried really hard. If I try harder, I'll probably get through it." Instead of just what we do now where it's like, if it's not easy, like, it's not the right way. Like, I don't need to push any harder and expect to move mountains. Like, if I can just sit in presence, like, a new idea will come to me. So that's where the perception shift has happened for me from a logical perception. Like, I can see like, I look at it this way, like, we see all of the opportunities that we see in our purview through a peephole. So we were just talking about, like, conscious incompetence. It's like, we don't know that there's, like, a universal IMAX screen of millions of different potential possibilities that are so much better than my limited mind could have, like, ever hoped for or imagined that can crop up and manifest in our life. Like, we were talking about, like, someone walking up to us and giving us this thing on the street that we, like, were asking for. It's like, what? Like, where did that even come from? And you hear these, again, we call them miracles or mystical experiences, and it's like, they seem so counterintuitive or, like, outside of our purview, and it's like, we just have no idea from this, again, limited perspective, this peephole that we're seeing through what's potentially possible. So, for me, like, to bring it back to, like, meditating, it's not something that I would say that I'm really good at, but I find my own ways to do it. Like, I look for it in, like, if I'm in the shower and, like, I can find peace where I'm thinking thoughts. I always have crazy ideas that come to me in the shower. So I'll tell him, I'm like, yell to him, I'm like, "Look this up." Like, words will come in and he's like, "Where did that come from?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't even know what that word means." The other day, it was like I was having a pain in my body, and I'm pretty good with, like, anatomy. I come from a background in fitness, but it was just interesting, something that had been nagging in my body, and I'm in the shower, and it's like, "Brachial plexus." I'm like, "Babe, look that up." I'm like, it's just okay.
Just
So
randomly.
I'm
I mean, if
getting
you're
better.
gonna meditate, you meditate in the shower because
Yeah.
that's where it all happens. I think there's a portal in all the showers that happen, that you just get all these crazy ideas and you just tap in.
And we just roll with it. Like, I don't know, I don't question where it's coming from. I just know that the possibility is there for I mean, since we've been together, the whole idea of us manifesting tangibly, I never really have an expectation. It just kinda shows up as it's supposed to.
If you had to design a 30-day unbreakable nervous system challenge for our listeners and viewers that included no gadgets, What would be in it?
That's an amazing question. I
Yeah.
love that. A lot of nature, a ton of nature, going outside, bare feet on the ground, sunshine, full spectrum sunshine, shirt off, naked preferably, and just basking in nature without any technology, no cell phones, no computers, no dinging, no nothing, and just really getting back into yourself, getting back to your homeostasis and finding your sense of quietness. I mean, I think that that would be day one would be, just step outside, try it, you know, and then all the way up to day 30 where you're frolicking around naked outside.
In the middle of the city, Central Park.
No
In the
acreage,
well,
quarter acre.
quarter, yeah, yeah, quarter acre, a little bit, kind of private, whatever, if you're into that.
Yeah, yeah. The transparent speedos for sure. Right.
Yeah,
Full
there
on
you go.
exhibitionist.
Mesh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
mesh.
I prefer mesh. Yes. So, but yeah, I mean, like I would definitely have that. And yeah, I mean, like nature is everything that we were born into. I mean, like we've been so dissociated from nature with like these fancy boxes that we call houses that we live in, and these rubber sole shoes that we have on, that we're never actually feeling the frequency of nature. We're never feeling the Schumann resonance. We're never feeling the harmonic frequency. We're never feeling really our the full spectrum sunlight on our body because we're always clothed outside. And I mean, like we're really doing a disservice to ourselves by not taking up exactly what's free outside. I mean, like we tell a lot of people, it's like, if you don't have math, that's fine. These are the free things that you can do right now. Like as you're listening, go outside, barefoot on the grass. That's it. And you'll feel so much better. I mean, because you're having these beautiful frequencies that you're native with, just reprogram your body. And so much more is happening. There's so much more of an energy exchange. And the energy exchange happens in less than a millionth of a second. It's it's incredible. I'm sure Alyssa can tell me exactly what the time frame is, but it happens quick. It's like lightning. So that would be my 30 day. Sorry.
What about the engineer?
So what's actually happening when you're in contact with natural earth surfaces is you're absorbing electrons, and we still today do not have equipment that can measure how fast it actually happens. So yeah, you're about correct, in like a millionth of a second.
Billionth of a second. My bad.
So it actually helps reduce inflammation in the body. So I guess more of a logical perspective and spin on this. I think he's absolutely right. If someone has access to natural earth surfaces, absolutely. We work with a lot of people though that are coming to us like right now. It's the tundra, the Arctic Circle. So or they're in Manhattan, right? It's the concrete jungle. You can go to Central Park, but what's accessible to someone here and now that they can implement that doesn't require any money or any gadgets? Do you have a roof deck? Is there uncured concrete, which is like it's not the best, but it still allows some of these natural earth frequencies to get through if it's not actually sealed with polymers and synthetic surfaces. So yes, light, water, magnetism. So full spectrum sunlight, first thing when you wake up in the morning, reset your circadian rhythm, this natural biology. Water, so clean air. So doing the breath work, drinking a glass of water, remineralizing with some healthy salt. Um, our favorites, like just to recommend, like Baja Gold or Celtic sea salt, just a good quality sea salt to help with those electrical connections in the body. So yeah, breathing, water, minerals, full spectrum sunlight, and then getting on some natural air surfaces if you can.
And fasting. I would say fast for
Intermittent
30
fasting.
days. Absolutely. Fasting has changed my life dramatically. I mean, not only the way that, I lost weight, but I mean, you said about these foods, right? And this is why we reprogram our foods and we prey upon our foods, is that we did a fast. We did about a 5-day fast not too long ago. And I felt amazing. I was like so calm, like nothing was bothering me, like everything was just like perfect.
More
The
present.
moment and we're like, let's break our fast, we'll have some juices. And then we like broke it, the appropriate way. And then I had a steak and something just happened where it all came flooding back, where it was like, oh, I'm worried about it. I have like not anxiety, but like the monkey mind came back. And then like this anger out of nowhere. And this is being completely transparent because I think people need to hear this. But like when I implemented food into my system again, it was like an overload. And I think it's like the codex of the food is being that's being programmed with right now is not necessarily the best. So definitely implementing fasting in those 30 days.
We're not telling anyone to be breatharians,
I was just
Right.
gonna bring that up. I was gonna say, have you heard of
Yeah,
breatharians?
Yes, of
yes.
course.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
Debatable,
interesting.
right? I don't know anyone personally, so I can't, confirm or deny. I will
I
attest that,
do. Our Daisy outside. I think then he's the breatharian and flowers.
flowers. Yeah, photosynthesis, So I just we know people that have done 40-day fasts. Not saying that, positive or negative, but hormonally, I can speak to like the fact that women should fast at specific times. They should break intermittent fast at certain times to optimize like their wellness. But the fact that we have so many external inputs and so much we're consuming, whether it be from media and information technology or food that we're consuming, like all of these lower vibrational things. So just giving your body a break to come back to homeostasis and self-regulate, I think is really powerful. A practice that we have that could be implemented in someone's unbreakable 30 days. We try to have somewhere between a 15 and a 17-hour fast window in the day and only eat within like a smaller like 8-hour time period. And eating our biggest meal like earlier in the day when the sun's the highest in the sky and we have the most energy quotient to burn that meal. And then having smaller meals throughout the day as, we're starting to prepare our body to get ready to go to sleep that night. So
Okay. I got a big question for you in a minute. But before I do that, we talked about this being, no gadgets, right? What happens when you add the gadgets in? How fast can you get there? That whole 30-day unbreakable nervous system challenge. Because I mean, obviously, you guys have figured out some technology and some science and the grounding, and there's other things people can do, hydrogen, water, I mean, you name it. What happens when you add the gadgets back in? And what would you recommend if you're going to add some gadgets to that?
so I know Mike has his take on this too, so we both speak on this, but the right gadgets. There are so many gadgets out there that are marketing. They do a great job at marketing and saying they can cure everything under the sun and all of these incredible things. And there's a lot of stuff that's unfounded. Like literally the technology that they're launching like has no clinical research. And that's why at Align we find it so imperative that we're actually doing the clinical research to substantiate what we're actually doing. A lot of the gadgets that are out there also work on stress. So the cold plunges that have become really trendy, infrared saunas, which we're a huge proponent of infrared saunas to help the body detox everything that we're being exposed to in the environment. But again, this goes back to nervous system regulation. If someone's super dysregulated and you're even incorporating, it's called hormetic stress. So putting them in an extreme hot or extreme cold environment, the body has limited ability and capacity to adapt. And for some individuals, it can actually be dangerous for them. So choosing what modalities to add in and how frequently is really like something key that I think the listeners need to know. And it's not just what's trending, it's what's going to work for them. But you can have incredible, powerful, and quick results with something like a quality hydrogen water that's actually helping reduce the oxidative stress on the body. It's actively hydrating the body with less water more thoroughly if it's coming from a clean water source. So there's always caveats. Something like Align, our technology that doesn't operate on stress. Someone can just lay down and help their nervous system shift within 60 seconds. So they're actively regulating, down regulating their stress index, their heart rate. Um, you're seeing the like 32% improvement in deep sleep quality in a single session, where deep sleep is where the body heals itself most effectively. So when you're starting to help at a cellular level for your body to do the things that it's designed to do, it operates better. We're huge proponents of the right red light. But then there's others that have a flicker rate that can be damaging to the body. So again, it's like this is such a deeper question where it's not easily answered, like what gadgets and when. Like We're also huge proponents of testing. If you don't test, it's just a guess. But if you're wearing an Oura ring or an Apple Watch and it's constantly transmitting, this is actually interfering with our natural brain waves and our energy field of our body. So again, there's like, what to do and when to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like she touched upon like the technology that's out there that's subpar. And there's a lot of companies out there that are using subpar Chinese technologies. I mean, like that are already made that doesn't have any studies behind it, that doesn't have the research, that is literally just marketed by marketing companies to make money and to have their bottom line and to appease their shareholders. It's really scary. And like as far as like the word biohacking, I think that there's probably, and this is being generous, maybe 4% of things that are out there that are actually made with intentionality that are actually helping people. So I mean, like it is, you got to be very conscientious of what you do implement into your body as far as technology goes. I mean, I can go on with different examples, but I mean, like we said, the LEDs that are in red lights, if they're not at the right nanometer spectrum, they're going to be detrimental to your health. I mean, the flicker rate on these LEDs, because that's all they are, electronic emitting diodes, are detrimental to our nervous system. It's making our survival, our nervous system and our survival kick in. So I mean, like there are things to be aware of, and I mean, like I'm not bashing other companies out there. I'm just saying that you need to, if you're going to have technology and you want to do it right, you want to get benefits from it. Some of these technologies out there are actually detrimental. From you plug it into the wall and they don't have safety parameters in there where it's just putting that 60 hertz carrier wave directly into your body. That's, you always got to be aware of like what you're plugging into your wall and how you're using it with your body. And those frequencies are actually coming from the wall and being emitted into your space, into your eyes, into your skin. So it's very important to know which ones. I mean, things that have studies, even we've seen even like FDA approved gadgets that have just got FDA approval just because they can afford to do it. And that doesn't mean, and we're not going to be FDA approved because we don't want to be. But I mean, we don't want to even be a class two medical device. It's just, we really want to just bring a superior quality product out there that actually helps people, heal themselves. And also not taking that power away from people like most companies do. It's like, get on this will help you heal. This will solve all your problems. That's not the case.
The silver bullet.
It's the silver bullet mechanism, right? It's marketing from the beginning of time. So, no, what we are saying is that these things are happening within your body. These shifts are happening, and that you are, because you are getting better sleep. Congratulations, your body's doing exactly what it needs to do to get better sleep, to heal, to feel better. So, that's just, you just got to be really aware of what you're doing.
So for everyone who's listening, watch for the GoFundMe where we're going to have a nudist colony wrapped in a 30-day challenge, and we're going to do some sustainable farming, right? And it's going to be a spiritual halfway house. I mean, it's everything. Like, who doesn't want to do this? Like,
Spiritual
Make it
hodgepodge.
naked and not so afraid.
exactly. Exactly. Okay? Last question I got for you. What's the conversation that no one's having that they need to be having right now? No matter how un-PC it is, no matter how it might offend or ruffle some feathers. I know that people start talking about the global warming thing. You lose half your audience because they're just whatever indoctrinated into some other mythology that's not true. And that could be said on both sides, the equation, depending on what side someone's on. But what's the conversation people need to be having right now that they're not having?
I think if you want to go first, Bear, it's it. But go ahead.
So, man, I mean, everyone's talking about AI, but no one's actually really talking about the consequences of artificial intelligence and artificial reality. Um, there used to be a quote back in the day, my mom would say it, and, like, she heard about it growing up, it was pretty common, and it was, "Believe none of what you read and half of what you see." And we live in a reality now where you can believe none of what you read and none of what you see because everything is this AI implementation where the videos and superimposed imposed people are so good, you can't tell in many cases if it's real or not. Without I know in my case, I'm like, "Oh, it's like there's a monkey riding on a tiger's back and the tiger kept it from drowning in the water." And he's like, "It's AI." I'm like, I wanna believe in, like, this beautiful
Right.
side of reality where, like, this is what's possible, and it seems fantastical. So, what I've been saying even before AI was fully rolled out like it is now is during the pandemic, I kept coming back to this quote, and I'm like, "Well, if nothing is real outside of us, who do we trust?" How do we know? What's the discernment? What's the barometer that we use to know we're on the right path? And I feel again this plays into the entire conversation that we've been having where people have been taught not to trust themselves, to trust some official, some authority figure, a doctor, a teacher, a professor, like law enforcement, whatever outside of themselves to have all of the answers and to be the savior. And they will give you speaking of, like, a doctor in Western med, and we've seen this because 'cause they'll give you some sort of, like, label or death sentence, like they know you and they couldn't walk a moment in your shoes, or they've had 7 minutes with you and they know the whole course of your life. Stop outsourcing your power. We are so powerful. We are more powerful beyond measure. Every single cell in our body has infinite wisdom, and if we just came home to ourself and started checking in more with who we are and we use that as the barometer, we would always be on the right path. Like, instinct will never lead you astray. No matter even what the data says outside of you, if, like, your instinct is saying something else, and it's like and we make a technology, we have a technology company. But if we don't listen to our instinct and how it's guiding us, that's led us astray more than the fact that if we've trusted that gut intuition.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of my life not trusting my gut, and that's why I believe I've had gut issues since I was 4 years old, is because my body was always telling me what was right or when something was wrong, but I was taught not to listen to that, and as I've gotten older now and been on this beautiful divine journey with this incredible human, and I've started listening to that, not only do I not deal with debilitating gut issues like I used to, it's helped me create this beautiful reality in life that I love living every single day. So I just wanna leave people with that to, like, trust themselves.
Mike,
Absolutely. Yeah. No, no, trust yourself. Absolutely. That's like one of the biggest things, what I was going to say, but also like this whole thing that's going on right now with like separation and like left and right and wrong and all this wars are fought after and why people are being divided. It's not about that. It's about loving each other and putting those differences aside, whether you believe in what you know believe something or not believe, or think something's better or a better way. I mean, if we just could realize how powerful the energy of love is, especially on a collective level, there wouldn't be, and it sounds like, song lyrics, but there really wouldn't be wars. There wouldn't be this crazy, right and wrong, evil and bad, all this stuff that is going on in the world right now. If we just like put ourselves aside and like really went in deep within, and that's kind of like what to add to what Alyssa was saying is like AI is just really driving a wedge in between people because we don't know what's right or wrong. And we lost that ability to have the discernment, I believe. It was a little bit easier when we were kids to have that discernment. It's like, okay, well, that's not right. That doesn't feel good, so I'm going to trust that. So bringing it back into trusting yourself, loving more, and giving people like, you know, just giving them the ability to, yeah, they can speak out, they can feel the way they do, but you know what? Just like no matter what you believe or what they believe, in our perceptions, in our reality, in this matrix, we're both right. And, it just, I just wish that people could, you know, just get along, God damn it. You know, just stop fighting, just stop having these indifferences and just like talk to each other. I mean, if there was conversations that were happening with like, I don't know, I'm probably going to trigger people, but like ICE and people that are being like deported, if they had coffee with each other, they probably start to like each other, find, coincidences with them and, amazing things would come out of it. But it's just because what we're told and, everything that's going on and what we're told to be programmed in with hate and, just this different perception and this lie. It's not what it seems. So love openly and just love a lot. That's what I feel.
Again, back to the nudist colony.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because everybody's happy
We're
with
just gonna
it.
unplug.
Everyone. I mean,
I mean, and if you're not happy when you're naked, you got some problems, dude.
yeah, you don't have a smile on your face. Like, come on.
Exactly. That's you have no clothes to like distinguish you. So you need to smile.
You're on a
Yes.
level playing field.
Everyone's going to go down the rabbit hole of tattoos to express themselves because that's the only thing that you can't take off. There you go. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All done with organic ink, by the way. So
All right. This has been such a beautiful conversation. I really appreciate both of you and the work that you're doing to educate people and also shed light on the science. And like you said, there's a lot of bad actors out there who are looking to make a few bucks, move on to the next big thing and the next whatever, and have the conversations. Be brave enough and yet fragile enough to have the conversations that no one's having right now. Like you brought up, this is the first time we mentioned AI in the entire conversation we've had, and because we're so immersed in the human experience and what it really means to be human. I think everyone should just grab hold of that with both hands, and reconnect with what that means, reconnect with the earth. And what you're doing with Align is a huge, huge part of what people can take away. For those people who want to learn more about Align, learn more about what you're doing, some of the science behind this and how they can, have these conversations and let the conversations continue, how would they connect with you guys?
They can find us on our website, myalignment.com. We actually have a science and technology page that talks about all the clinical research that we're doing and all the published third-party independent studies that are on there. And they can find us pretty much on every other channel at myalignment.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you on the next session. If you've been waiting for a sign to finally reset to get your foundation solid, this is it. Join our 3-day online Unbreakable Bootcamp to help you build strength across your mind, your body, your emotions, and your finances. You can go to unbreakable.bootcamp.com right now and register while it's still free, or click the link in the description. Again, that's unbreakable.bootcamp.com.